of noise that may harm the balance of human or animal life. Noise pollution affects both health and behavior. Unwanted sound can damage psychological health. But now comes a greater threat, created by the vast majority of EDM producers, known as modern.
Will the Twitch doesn't the Twitch page say script doctors? Oh yeah, because there's no way that one's not taken, but also everything's taken at this point.
I am muted. I'm sorry. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I guess script doctors maybe, but like Dan said, everything's taken, so we'll see.
Also, unright click me.
Thank you.
Unless I'm in.
No. I fixed it. Pull up my notes so I can pretend I'm like semi-organized.
I'm 100% ready.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been more ready.
I'm born ready. So yeah. Hello everyone. I'm Inspector Wells. This is my Twitch channel. You should know that by now. This is my good friend Dan. He's been my co-host for the last 4 Mondays now, including today.
I think so, yeah.
So we've been doing pretty well with these. So yeah, before we get started, how you doing, Dan? What else has been going on?
Oh, it's 2020, so news continues on a pace. Other than that, been watching Better Call Saul. Been enjoying that. I've never got into it. I've seen everything else in the Breaking Bad universe, but just never that show for whatever reason. So I've been enjoying that.
Okay, because I know you just watched the movie last week, right?
Yeah, El Camino. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed that enough. Better Call Saul, I think, is a lot better than that. It seems like a really good show, but it's interesting because I don't know how it would play to someone who didn't watch Breaking Bad, because a lot of it is so intertwined with the two.
Yeah.
That it'd be interesting for someone to. It's kind of like a Marvel movie at a certain point of, if you don't know all these weird little tie-ins, then does this hit for you? But
okay.
But for me, it works on every level. I love Bob Odenkirk, and oh boy, the guy who plays Mike, who's in season 6 of Community.
I honestly, I don't think
or
I actually.
5, rather. Sorry,
I didn't finish
but
either.
I'm
5
not going
or
to remember
6.
his name.
Yeah.
Oh well, you should. But anyway.
But yeah, okay.
They're on Hulu or Netflix, except for the D&D episode.
Really, the D&D episode's not on Netflix?
Well, unless they put it back up, but they took it down because of blackface.
Speaking of our lovely friend Dan Harmon, he was in the news again this weekend. I don't know if you saw that.
Mm-mm.
People rediscovered his Dexter parody.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it for like Channel 101 or something?
I don't know how it came about, but someone was like, cancel Rick and Morty because one of the creators is a pedophile, basically, is the word that was going around.
Okay.
For those of you that don't know, Dan Harmon, who is a co-creator of Rick and Morty and a bunch of other stuff, made a parody of Dexter where Dexter time travels and molests the serial killers as punishment. I think that's the general gist of it.
This sounds more like when James Gunn got in trouble for making jokes that are, definitely they're not clean jokes. They're for sure. They're Bob Saget like stand-up jokes, and not Bob Saget America's Funniest Home Videos jokes.
They're on the edge dark humor that is borderline for a lot of people, if I had to guess.
Yeah. I don't know. There's too much. The internet's too much.
It's a lot.
That's why it's like, just gonna play Destiny. Play a lot of Destiny. That's the only other thing I've done.
Well, you also been playing the Avengers game as well.
Yeah, I jumped back into the beta like once, and that's been it. So I guess take from that what you will. I don't know if I'll buy it day one at this point, because I'm not hot on it.
Yeah, because so for those of you that are here, I have been doing a Let's Play with Dan as well of Hitman 2, which next episode will be coming out later this week. I have to edit the video still. There's a fun Benny Hill moment in it for all of you. But that's for a whole other conversation. But anyways, we were talking about the Avengers game and just how lackluster it sounds.
Yeah, I mean, I'll enjoy playing as Captain America and probably as Thor, but it's just all the characters. It feels like if they all had their own game, that'd be cool. If there was a Miss Marvel game, if there was an Iron Man game, if there was a Hulk game. But just trying to do all those characters in that framework,
yeah,
it doesn't really work for me.
I was say, do you remember the licensed movie games for like the PlayStation 3 era?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because the Thor one was Thor and Captain America. I remember not being great at all. The Hulk one was okay, but not as good as the GameCube one, Ultimate Destruction.
The Wolverine one is the one I remember kind of enjoying.
Yeah, that one's better than the movie.
That's a bad movie. That's a really bad movie.
It's a very low bar to pass to be better than it. Yeah, but still, it is.
Yeah. As far as what I've been watching, to circle back real quick, I'm still watching Star Trek. I'm on season 3. The show is definitely had a tonal change. So you and I are both fans of Red Letter Media, so I watched Mike and Rich Evans' top 5 favorite episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I've seen 2 of Rich's favorite episodes so far, and I have to agree that they are both so far the best episodes I've seen of the show. But it's definitely pacing better. I still hate certain characters and I still hate certain aspects of it, but it's weird to think a decade ago I was like, no, this show's trash, and now a decade later I'm like, no, it's actually pretty good. I get why people like it.
Yeah, especially Star Trek really is, especially I feel like for a lot of people you go from Star Wars into Star Trek, where you enjoy how Star Wars is just kind of fast-paced and more action and fun, but Star Trek is usually like, well, if we tell these people what they're doing is wrong, we're interfering with their culture, which would interfere with the Prime Directive.
Yeah.
So should we do this, or is it moral? What's the moral obligation of people with knowledge, like interesting things?
Yeah,
compared to,
so the last
Baby Yoda or whatever.
Yeah, so the last episode I watched is called Who Watches the Watchers, and it's a Prime Directive themed episode where this planet is still in like the Bronze Age, and the Federation Starfleet has a anthropology group out there observing them and like understanding how they are to better learn how we evolve and grow as people. But their equipment malfunctions, and basically the Prime Directive happens and people see them. One of the people on the Bronze Age planet confused Captain Picard to be a god, and it just spirals from there. And it's really cool how they like get to like a resound answer for everything. Whereas, like you said, Star Wars is pew pew pew, Baby Yoda, and lightsabers. So it is a nice change of pace. Moving along. Anything
Actually,
else?
to cycle back to Avengers real quick.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw there's a rumored leak from a PC data mine from the beta.
Okay.
That has theoretically their next 15 characters. So minus Spider-Man, who would be only PS4, but on the list we've got Ant-Man, who they had already announced.
Okay.
Vision.
Okay.
Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Falcon, Marvel.
Oh.
Mockingbird, Quake, Winter Soldier, Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, Kate Bishop, She-Hulk, and War Machine.
So the only one of those that I found to be weird when you read it off was Marvel, because the rest of them have all been on either Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or one of the MCU movies, so those all make sense.
If I had to guess, if you're going to build a Captain Marvel character, that's going to have to be kind of a Thor-like, so you want another one of those character archetypes just to round out the roster.
Okay, that makes sense.
Who's someone like Captain Marvel? Well, what about Jude Law?
Yeah.
Because also in the comics, Marvel is much more of a... There's
a lot with Marvel in the comics.
Yeah, Marvel is way more of a character that I'd be... and also theoretically, the Avengers game, they could do a lot of different things with their powers and how they play and stuff. For me, it's a good roster. There's no one there that I was like, wow, I can't wait to play as like Quake. Like, it'll be cool. All the characters seem fun. It just seems off. Maybe it's the cutscenes and the way the world is built, and Troy Baker being Bruce Banner.
Wait, Troy Baker's Bruce Banner? Okay.
Yeah. And Nolan North is Iron Man. And I think it was someone in the Facebook group I had seen said, like, oh, he's just doing his Deadpool voice. And then I couldn't unhear that. So a lot of the characters and their quips don't really work for me compared to, like, the Spider-Man game.
I feel like... Correct me if
And the gear also is not good.
Yeah, I've heard issues. I want to talk about it more once it's out, and if you end up playing it more or not. You can correct me if I'm wrong on this.
I will.
Voice acting in video games does not have a diverse pool to pick from, it sounds like.
I mean, I have to assume that there's like one voice acting agent in all of video games, and it's Troy Baker and Nolan North's manager, and Laura Bailey's, and like those are the three, right?
It seems like that. I feel like Troy Baker or Nolan North isn't like any other game that I play. It's rare that I come across a voice that isn't done by them. And Laura Bailey.
I mean, that's why I liked. I know a lot of people had issues with the Jedi Fallen Order. I don't know the actor's name, but Cal lightsaber.
The Joker kid from Gotham.
Yeah, that guy. Like, I enjoyed that character because it's not. I haven't seen him in 700 things.
Yeah,
in a bunch of video games before.
It was
doesn't
nice.
instantly take me out of it.
It was a nice change, kind of like in Quantum Break, where they use.
Yeah, Iceman, or
yes.
Iceman's brother, but I think it was Iceman.
It was Iceman. No, they used Iceman.
It was in Ashmore, one of them.
And then to kind of wrap up the introduction phase, anything else you're excited for coming out this week, or anything that got you excited?
No, I'm still waiting for Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted, yeah, that's on my radar. For me, I guess the Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer, because it's co-op, sounds kind of cool.
It seems like an interesting thing, and I mean, I have the game, so I'm sure I'll check it out. Multiplayer wasn't really what I was looking for from that. I mean, it's a free update, so it'll be cool to check out and like mess around with, because why not?
I think as a free update, it's
not
nice.
A game. Yeah, it's cool. Like, I'm not upset about it at all. I'm just also not like amped for it. It seems interesting, but also, what is it? September, October? They said.
Something like that. End of September, beginning of October. It's like
so far away.
It does feel far
Anything
away.
It's not 2 days away. It feels like an eternity. So.
I hope it has like a piece of story DLC or something similar to First Light almost. If they do anything like that, I think that would be kind of.
That'd be really cool if you played as. Well, there's characters in the story that you meet that would be interesting to have their own story, just like how First Light works. So.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, recap of last week. We talked about the X-Men movies. We were pretty much in agreement for those and how they fell into place and our thoughts on them. This week we are talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, the first 3 movies. Quick question: when did you first see them? Did you see them in theaters as they came out, or after the fact?
Yeah, I saw all 3. The third one, I think I remember seeing at a drive-in, but I saw all of them when they came out. Or, no, sorry, not all of them. 1 through 3, which to me in my head was all of them, so that can tell you how I feel about 4 and 5.
That's okay. So I saw the first Pirates on like Stars back in like 2004 or 2005 as a kid, and then I think some of my friends went to go see Dead Man's Chest and then World's End in theaters because I was like really hooked on them as a teenager. And then I've seen the other 2. I've seen all of them, so I have thoughts and opinions on all of them.
I mean, I never disliked them, I guess. Like, for me, it's the score, Johnny Depp's performance, and then that's really all I take away from them. Like, they're really well made for what they are, or at least the first one is, I think. But I just never latched onto anything. Like, by the time I was working when 5 came out, managing the theater, and, like, you could not have paid me to watch the movie. Like, it did not seem interesting. I like Javier Bardem, so I'm sure when I did walkthroughs, I would catch a scene or 2 with him, and that looked really cool.
Yeah.
And the effects looked cool, but, like, it's going to be a Disney pirate movie where,
you summed up the 2 redeeming parts of the 5th movie, which is the special effects and Javier Bardem. There's other little tidbits in there that are okay, but that movie is fine at best. I like it personally as a solo story, but that's a whole other. That's more towards the back end of this conversation. So, per my notes, I have our bigger picture side of things. How do you feel about Disney turning a ride into a movie? And they've tried to do it again with Tomorrowland, if I remember correctly.
And Haunted Mansion.
I forgot about Haunted Mansion. That's the one I forget about.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it shows where every studio was at in the thousands, where it's like, what's a thing that someone would say, oh, I know that phrase. So before they could get to Star Wars and Marvel, they had to look at everything they owned and go like, okay, well, what can work here? And, I mean, Pirates, like, I guess on paper, even, I think it was Eisner famously did not believe in Johnny Depp's performance at all, and when he saw the dailies, he wanted him fired.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of, like, crazy stories, because even that first movie was kind of catching lightning in a bottle in terms of performances and how everything just came together.
Yeah, and that's kind of. I guess we'll just lead into
But
the next part of this. Then is what that movie did for Johnny Depp, and I feel like it set a tone for 2000s action movies, and more so Jerry Bruckheimer in that regard.
Yeah, Johnny Depp is another person where, especially with recent news aside, I like him in some things, but also I'm not a huge Tim Burton fan, just in the general sense, and so a lot of his performances I think are very they're a lot. It's kind of most acting instead of Mordecai. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a teeter tot with him because the first half of his career, let's say 1980 to or whenever he started acting in the 80s to 2003, the first Pirates movie. I'll consider that his first half, and then everything after that's the back half of his career, and it's a much different tone. And
yeah, I guess I'm not thinking about 90s John. I'm not thinking about Ed Wood or
that's
Edward Scissorhands, any of that. Even Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah,
I mean more, The Tourist and Rango.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Ed Wood's, Fear and Living Las Vegas. Like, so I remember when the Pirates movie was coming out, my mom was like, Johnny Depp in a lead role? What? Because she just didn't picture him as that person, and clearly Disney at the time definitely did not picture Johnny Depp as that person. Because, like you said, there's tons of. I never knew how much drama and issues there were with the making of that first movie until like this past weekend when I started to do my research for today. Like Zoe,
it reminds me of. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say like Zoe Zeldana. I can't say her last name. Zeldana
Gamora. Yeah.
She almost quit acting because of the first Pirates movie. Like she's on record saying like that movie made her feel so shitty about, and it wasn't the cast or anyone on the cast that made her feel that way. It was like producers and agents and other people, and she was
just the business.
Yeah, because she had been acting for a little bit, and at that point she's just like, "Fuck this, I don't want to do this." But luckily, she didn't quit acting, and she's been in other movies. But it's just crazy to think like how that movie made Johnny Depp a leading man in a sense.
Well, it definitely was like a reconnaissance before the reconnaissance.
And he wasn't even a bad actor at that point. He's still like.
But I think it's more like, for me personally, like I don't mind Secret Window. That's an okay movie, I guess. But from Pirates in 2003, 2005, you have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I think is an abomination. And then Corpse Bride, which is fine, but it's another Tim Burton thing. And then 2006, Pirates 2, 2007, Pirates 3, and Sweeney Todd. 2009, you got Public Enemies, and then 2010, Alice in Wonderland and The Tourist.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of... It was a nonstop Johnny Depp fest from all the studios for like 5 straight years.
And that was going to be my point, is like Johnny Depp becoming a leading man in 2003, I think like he I don't want to say dominated the box office because not all of those movies were hits or good for that matter. Far and few between good movies.
I mean, a lot of them actually made money. I mean, every Pirates movie... 5, I believe, underperformed.
5 actually, no, it made profit. Is
it 4? I thought
one of them. I think 4. No, they all technically underperformed domestically, but overseas they churned profit. So 5 underperformed and cost the studio a net loss of $50 million, but because of its overseas profit, overseas business, it made a profit of $263 million, which washed away the loss in the domestic side of things.
Yeah.
So they all make money. It's just like the cost to hire Johnny Depp is for that role is the cost to hire Robert Downey Jr. to play Iron Man. Actually, I think it's even more to some degree.
Mm-hmm. I think they're very similar in that way, though, of the studio not wanting to cast the person and then them having to convince them routinely throughout the production, like, no, we know what we're doing and it's going to work. Just let us keep doing this. Because I do think his performance is really, really fun to watch. Even if the movie is, pirate stuff, he's fun, and it's interesting to see him bounce off of people because he's also not the main character in this one.
Yeah,
he is, but he isn't.
I was about to say he got nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor in Curse of the Black Pearl in that first movie. So that shows you that he does have that range as an actor. And the other big takeaway I have is just I think it's Pirates that soured me on Johnny Depp a little bit because I didn't mind him in the 90s with his I don't want to call it method acting, but I guess that's what it is, or character acting, whatever you want to call it. And after Pirates, he does Sweeney Todd and all these other movies. I'm just like, you are too much for me. I need a more What's Eating Gilbert Grape role from you right now.
Yeah, you didn't like Dark Shadows or Lone Ranger.
Dude, Dark Shadows I've seen in theaters. Not of my own choice, but that was my mother's favorite TV show growing up as a kid. So she was really excited. And my mom is a Johnny Depp fan. So she's like, hey, can you take me to go see this? And my mom, back when I used to work at the theater, never asked me to take her to see movies ever. So I'm like, oh, okay, this will be fun. And halfway through the movie, I told her, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go to whatever other movie is of interest across the hall. I'll come and get you when this is over. I hope you enjoy the rest of your film.
45 minutes.
Yeah. That was a bad movie. And it's...
Was it when Chloe Grace Moretz turned to the camera and said, yeah, I'm a werewolf, deal with it? Is that when you stopped watching?
Maybe. I'd have to rewatch it, and I'll timestamp the point, be like, nope, here's the moment, I'm out.
Yeah.
So stuff like that is just like a bit much. And then the Lone Ranger is just the whole back half of his career it's missing those like performances that remind me that he's of quality.
2014 to like present, he's in like the weird Nick Cage phase of like every movie is either bad or he's just in some Disney thing, like kind of a National Treasure, because you've got just back-to-back Transcendence, Tusk, Mordecai, Black Mask, Yoga Hosers, Alice in Wonderland 2, Fantastic Beasts, the first one, and then Pirates 4.
That's
Sherlock Gnomes. Murder on the Orient Express is, at least people have said, it's a good movie.
That's a good movie. I like that movie. That's a good movie.
Performance is not necessarily the thing that people take away from it.
No, because he's only in it for 20 minutes.
Well, I wasn't gonna say. And then Fantastic Beasts 2, which is not good. And then everyone wanting him to be removed, and then now where everything is currently legally a hot situation.
Yeah, so originally they were going to reboot the Pirates movies and do a whole new set of stories and everything, and then all the circumstance changed with Johnny Depp and what is going on in his legal life. And because of that, Disney's like, hello, Mr. Depp, come on back to the Black Pearl. Here's a bag of money for your service. So they're making another sixth movie, yeah, and his whole like 2010s career is wild because like there's stuff in there like Black Mass was a good movie. I enjoyed that for the most part. Mordecai is garbage. I did a screening for employees of that. They really wanted to watch it. I think I was like, all right, your movie's playing. I'll be across the hall watching something else. Come let me know if you need anything. And
you were really nice letting them watch movies when you weren't watching movies.
Well, yeah, it's because I would stay late, and they knew I would stay late, so they would just ask if they could watch a movie. And one of them came as like, hey, can we watch this with you instead? I'm like, yeah, sure, that's fine. So yeah, it's just wild how he became a leading man off of the back of the first Pirates movie. And
pretty much that alone.
Yeah, it's crazy because like he does that, and then movies like Transcendence, he's able to demand like I think he got paid $25 or almost $40 million for Transcendence. And because they were like, hey, no, do you want to take box office profits or back end on this? He's like, no, I'll just take up front. Here's what I want, and they paid him that. So it's just it's crazy to think like that movie did that for him, and it's rare that you see anything like that in today's like climate of movies.
He's one of the last movie stars outside of Tom Cruise, and
I think the last movie stars for me are him, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt to a degree, and maybe Will Smith.
I don't know. No one saw Ad Astra in terms of me running a movie theater.
No one saw it. I think it depends on the
good movie, but in terms of like seeing someone on a poster and going like, yeah.
Well, maybe not Brad Pitt so much anymore. Like Brad Pitt 10 years ago in a certain movie.
I agree. Then I agree. And
yeah.
Just recently, he's only in like, Killing Him Softly, which was like, no, people didn't see that.
He's in very specific roles. He's doing what he wants to do now, which makes sense.
And I enjoy that a lot. But
so moving along, other pirate or swashbuckler themed movies like that you could think of, like what that make you think of pirates or pirates made you think of.
Honestly, for me, a lot of Disney movies are intermingled with Kingdom Hearts in my head.
That's
So there, Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3, you go to the Caribbean, as it were, and do stuff with Jack Sparrow. So that's really the only pirate adjacent media that I've ever experienced.
you never saw
Pirates have never
Muppets
really
Treasure
been, like-
Island?
No, I think I saw that. Like, I remember seeing it. No, I don't remember seeing it. I was incredibly young. I remember only because my mom saw it because she was told to bring me, and she hated it, and that's when she stopped taking me to movies as a kid.
Okay, that's
So
fair.
I know I physically saw it, but I retained no memory. And yeah, I mean, Sea of Thieves. There's no pirate stuff. Assassin's Creed 4.
Yeah,
it never makes me super interested. It's
Yeah.
not like a setting or backdrop. I do think the first one, would you set it in the politics of what piracy actually is? I find it interesting. That's why I found it odd that in the first one I actually found it interesting, the timing in the British Navy going against all the pirates and everything, and before it gets to, Davy Jones and all that. That I could be interested in, but not necessarily the we're running around in a giant wheel as other people sword fight on top of the wheel.
Yeah,
That stuff.
we'll get into that when we talk about the
Yeah.
movies in full. Because so for disclosure for
thoughts.
everyone listening, I watched all 5 movies in the last 24 hours. I got up yesterday. I started with The Black Pearl, and I went to bed after watching Stranger Tides, and then I watched Dead Man Tell No Tales earlier today before we got on for the stream. So they're very
Disney Plus, right?
Yeah, hooray Disney Plus. They're very well. Actually, Stranger Tides isn't on Disney Plus. I had to go out of my way to watch that one.
It's so weird to me that they're like, hey, if you want to watch, like, I think it was fantastic, or all the Harry Potters are going to be off of HBO Max soon. Like, I can't believe that.
Digital rights is a scary thing.
I'd be fine with it if it literally was, hey, do you want to watch a Disney thing? Disney has it. But the fact that I have to go like, I wonder if Alien's streaming. And it's like, okay, that's Disney. They wouldn't put it on Disney Plus. So it's either on like FX through their movies tab, or it's on Hulu.
More like digital wrongs, am I right? Yeah, no, you're right, Mike. So I was asking about movies and things that the first Pirates or the Pirates movies make you think of. For me, there was a few things that came to mind. I have
Monkey Island.
Monkey Island's a good one. I was actually going to say, in terms of games, it's really just Assassin's Creed 4 that I circle back to in my head, and Sea of Thieves, but mainly Assassin's Creed 4, because that's
Assassin's Creed 4, I got burned by 3 so hard that everyone was like, this one's pretty good. And I was like, I don't care. And then Unity, they were like, this one's completely broken. And I was like, I don't care. And
Yeah.
they were like, this one's Victorian London, and you have a grappling hook. And I was like, all right, I might carry it.
Syndicate and Black Flag are my favorite 2 Assassin's Creed games, easily. I think Unity actually has a really good story, but it's just a messy game to try and play to get to it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, so for movies,
And like,
though,
again, the French Revolution, that's an interesting set.
yeah, it's got a good backdrop, and the world is really pretty. It's just the game has really weird mechanics introduced to it that got dropped anyways when they switched to Origins and
Yeah, that's a whole other...
yeah, whatever the other games are.
Assassin's Creed can be just a whole other episode.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic. But anyway, Assassin's Creed 4, Sea of Thieves, Monkey Island, those are pirate games. As far as movies go, I thought of The Mask of Zorro, personally.
Captain Ron, sorry, that's it.
Captain Ron. But no, I thought
Yeah,
I thought of The Mask of Zorro. I'm like, that's a swashbuckler movie. It's not a pirate per se, but it fits the theme of what the first Pirates movie is to a degree. And I really like Antonio Banderas in it.
That's fair.
Yeah, and then Man in the Iron Mask, because my mom made me watch that movie growing up, and
I saw that in high school.
oh,
but
I'm so sorry.
I saw that, I took naps.
There you go. That's the right way to think about it. And then the other 2, this is more not current, but in the last 20 years, Stardust as like a fantasy pirate movie, kind of. I don't know if you've ever seen Stardust, actually.
I'm thinking of Sunshine. I do this every time. And then I start thinking about Sunshine and go like, I want to watch Sunshine. So, sorry, no, what's Stardust?
It is the... Oh, God. It's got Robert De Niro in it, and who else? It's got a decent
Yeah, it
cast.
doesn't sound like Sunshine at all.
No, I'll pull it up really quick. It's got Claire Danes, Charlie Cox, Sienna Miller, Ricky Gervais.
Oh, Daredevil's in it.
Peter O'Toole.
Gervais.
It's directed by Matthew.
Alright.
It's directed by Matthew Vaughn.
Oh.
Yeah, it's actually a really good movie. I highly recommend it.
It's on streaming.
It's worth checking out at the very least. The other one though is Prince of Persia. Sands of Time.
That does have the same vibe. I mean, was it Disney?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was Bruckheimer as well, right?
Yeah, that's Bruckheimer. It's just, I wonder if he was trying to capture the pirates, lightning in a bottle sense again. And but yeah, those are the ones I thought of. And then Cutthroat Island. Have you ever seen Cutthroat Island?
No. What's that?
It's a like disastrous. It's from like 1998, I think. Let me look it up real quick. Sorry, 1995. It had a budget of $100 million, and it only made $10 million at the box office. It's like a box office bomb, and it's kind of like I don't want to call it a cult classic, but it's kind of got like a cult status to it. But it's a pirate movie. It's got Gina Davis in it and Matthew Modine, who also, if I remember correctly, has been in other movies that we would know. He was in Full Metal Jacket as JT Joker Davis. And he was also in a couple other movies, but Cutthroat Island's the one that I really remember him from.
I'm sorry, I was just double checking because I thought he was in. Is he the guy in Stranger Things?
Yeah, actually, I think he is in Stranger Things.
Okay, I was trying because I thought he was in Better Call Saul, but then I don't want to.
Yeah, he's a character in Stranger Things because I know you don't. I don't think you've
he's
seen
that doctor guy. Yeah, no, I saw season
1. I think you've seen season 1.
2.
Oh, okay. I didn't know how many
you've seen. I saw Samwise.
You're like, I'm there for Samwise. He climbed mountains.
Honestly, that's yeah. Hey, he may not be able to carry the. What is the dumb monster called?
The Demigorgon or whatever.
He can't carry the Demigorgon, but he can carry you.
Well done. So moving along, what do you consider the last good Johnny Depp movie?
Oh boy, I have to go back to that list of Johnny Depp movies. Because as I said, I don't love these movies. I mean, I put the first one on that list, so let's see if there's anything post Pirates 1, because honestly, for me, it's never been... There's very few actors, like we said, that jump off of just the name on a poster that makes me want to watch something.
Yeah.
But he is definitely not... Let's see. I mean, I don't hate Sweeney Todd, but it's not like a good movie. I mean, he's in 21 Jump Street, if that counts. But
that's a cameo. I can't say will that one count.
So I didn't see Murder on the Orient Express, but probably that. And otherwise, I would say not applicable.
So
for me personally.
Okay. Outside of the first Pirates movie, I guess I would probably say Rango. Because I
haven't seen it.
I liked Rango. Rango I thought was good. So I would say Rango. I think Rango is probably his best movie per se. Then post Pirates. And Sweeney Todd's fine, but it's not like...
It's watchable.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the other Pirates movies for me, where they're in the tier of these are fine.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I am with Sweeney Todd. It's fine. I remember I went on one of my first high school dates for that movie. I had to go watch that and Juno in back-to-back weeks, and I was just like, I don't know if film's for me. I kind of hate movies.
Maybe that was just a rough month at the box office for you.
Juno's fine. I like Juno enough. That's an okay movie, but
I wonder how it has aged, because in the way that I cringe at certain Buffy dialogue for being so 90s,
mm-hmm.
I think Juno is so exactly 2003 or whenever that I don't know. I do like Ellen Page and Michael Cera still, so it might be fine, but I remember it being very of the time when I watched it.
I'd have to rewatch it. I don't think I ever will, though, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no.
I just actually finished season 2 of Umbrella Academy, and again, Ellen Page was pretty good in it. She had a lot better character portrayal versus the first season. So it was a nice change of pace for her.
That's good. I watched the first episode, and I didn't really like it. But then I saw on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, it was a recap explainer to get you caught up from Netflix. And all they did was recap the pilot that I had seen and then explain nothing else about the show.
That's not a recap.
They didn't even get to things that happened that I had seen in the one episode I had seen. It caught me up not at all. Maybe does it? Do you not need to be caught? Could you just jump to season 2? Because it
No,
makes it seem like
you would need to watch at least the last 2 episodes of season 1 to at least understand anything going on in season 2. The one thing
it was a terrible recap.
It's a bad recap because the show's not bad. It's fine. It's actually pretty enjoyable. The one thing I will say,
CW level.
Yeah, it's like a little bit above that, if anything.
I mean, production quality.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mary J. Blige is in the first season as an actress, and she is very good. I was not prepared for that.
Is that her second acting credit since Spider-Man?
I made that joke while watching it with Emily, and Emily didn't get that
good.
reference. I was like, "Oh man, Mary J. Blige is in another hero thing. What's this been, like 20 years?" So moving along.
Back to formula.
So one of the things we were talking about is like the perfect storm of the perfect cast for the first movie. Orlando Bloom probably has to be one of the second biggest things to come out of that from Johnny Depp himself.
Yeah, because they were in between Lord of the Rings movies that these started coming out, right? It was like the first 2 were out, and then Pirates 1, and then 3.
I think it's something like that. Let me jump to
Might have been, I think, same year as Return of the King, because Fellowship's 01,
yeah,
02, then 03. So Black Pearl's same year as Return of the King.
Yeah,
so he had a pretty good couple of years there.
It's pretty wild. So his first movie's in 1997, and then he does Black Hawk Down, which is a Ridley Scott film, in 2001, and then he does all 3 Lord of the Rings movies, and then immediately jumps into Pirates of the Caribbean and goes from there. And he's also in Troy, Kingdom of Heaven. Like, his career for the next 10 years is pretty, like, epic, I would say.
He did well, yeah. And then I have not heard from him at all besides, like, I feel like when he popped up in the Hobbit movies, and then...
yeah.
I guess, like, blanket spoilers for all the Pirates movies, because, like, I don't think anyone really cares. But he's in the 5th one again, right?
Yeah,
a minute.
He's in the first 10 minutes of it, and then the last 10 minutes, and then a post-credit sequence to set up whatever the next movie is going to be.
That's way more than I thought.
Yeah, well, I'll talk on those once we get to them.
Yeah.
Anything he's done afterwards, he was in the Three Musketeers movie.
Not the candy bar?
If only. No, the director of the Resident Evil movies with his wife made a Three Musketeers film.
I think I've seen parts of it. Because I remember a really dumb Three Musketeers thing in my head. But the fact that Paul W.S. Anderson has directed a movie I haven't seen yet seems like a mistake on my part. Because, boy, if you like schlock, he's so good at it. I can't wait for Monster Hunter. Because if there's a movie that'll just come to streaming because who cares, it's Monster Hunter.
Man, the Three Musketeers movie is such a... Like, it should have came out in the 90s schlock-esque film.
Yeah, I think I am thinking of a 90s movie, because 2011 3D...
Yeah,
this looked like trash.
Oh, yeah.
I need to watch it.
It's got Mad Mikkelsen in it.
Yeah, Luke Evans on the poster alone is
it's got such a ridiculous cast for what it is.
During the 5 years that everyone said Logan Lerman was going to be famous, and then America went,
Oh, then Logan Lerman had his face almost cut off on the set of Maze Runner, and he kind of was like, I don't really want to act right now.
Was Logan Lerman the Maze Runner guy?
Yeah, he's the Maze Runner kid. He got into a accident on... I'm pretty sure he's the Maze Runner kid. Or he's not.
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh, he's the Perks of Being a Wallflower.
He's Percy
kid.
Jackson.
I get him confused with the Maze Runner kid. That's...
Feel bad. My apologies to the person who I think is probably my age at this point. Maze Runner kid.
Logan Lerman.
Our apologies. I'm not going to Google it. I don't care. No one cares.
I don't care.
Dylan, it's going to be like Dylan McDermott or whatever.
Yeah, Logan Lerman is a weird actor, but anyway, Orlando Bloom was in a Musketeers movie. It's worth watching if you want like a hot mess schlocky film. Because after that, he did the Hobbit movies, and then he hasn't done anything kind of since.
Dylan O'Brien is the Maze Runner.
He had an accident on set. I know one of them had an accident on set.
Yeah, no. There's the Maze. It was Maze Runner.
Okay.
Just getting things squared away.
For sure.
And yeah, if this is I'm gonna look up if it's streaming because like I mean Christoph Waltz in any movie is usually watchable. So
I will gladly talk about the Musketeers movie because
That'll get all the clicks.
It's
The
not.
hot SEO for the Three Musketeers
it's-
2011. Oh, it's on Hulu, it looks like.
It's not
So-
Brothers Grimsby worthy talking about, but I remember walking out of it and I came up to Sean. I'm like, I kind of liked it. And Sean's like, no, it's a bad movie. I'm like, no, you got to go watch it. It's okay, I promise. He came out and was like, all right, it's fine. This is our former boss.
I like Matthew Vaughn, so I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's like if Kingsman wasn't that good.
Yeah, it's more like when I told
like it looks terrible.
like you never really watched Brothers Grimsby, and I had to tell people like, no, you have to watch the movie to understand what I'm talking about.
That's different. I don't think a PG-13 Three Musketeers movie is gonna shock me in any way. If anything, it's gonna make me go like, oh, I want to watch Kingsman.
That's fair. So anyway, moving along on our notes through that I have for us, Keira Knightley. That's the next person I wanted to like talk about before we break down the first movie, the movies, and all that.
Princess Amidala.
Yeah, Princess Amidala. So, I'm not gonna lie, I don't define her as in the Pirates movies. I forget she's in them sometimes, and I don't mean that in a bad way because
She has a giant role by the third one. I feel.
Well,
like.
that's what I was
They
gonna say because that's in my notes. She's really important in the second and third movie. It's just I think she's the one that broke the mold of that film, of those films, and was able to do her own thing to some degree, and it's. I don't know. I genuinely like her. She's one of the few actresses that I'll actually like. If I see her name on the poster, I'll at least look into it if it's something I want to watch.
Not to challenge that, but what on her filmography is the thing? Because I worked at a art house theater that theoretically I think is open this week. But that's a whole other thing. And we got Keira Knightley movies, but they were always The Aftermath or Colette. They were always period piece drama romance movies, and that was about it. And the only thing I worked at a like studio multiplex was Collateral Beauty.
I forgot
which
she's
is
in
another
that.
mess. Like I'm looking at her whole filmography, and honestly, I mean, I'm also not a period person thing, so I'm sure like I've heard good things about Atonement. I like
she's
a good actress. I'm not saying that. I just didn't know what game. Like maybe you like The Imitation Game.
I actually do like The Imitation Game. So
it's probably that one then.
I like period pieces. Actually, Begin Again is the movie I was going to reference for her. I think she's very, very good in that movie, and I think that's a movie a lot of people have seen but haven't seen. So it's one I would recommend to check out for her filmography.
Sounds like a movie that, in terms of how I categorize movies in my head, movies that were good but you only know of because you worked in a movie theater.
Accurate. That is 100% accurate.
Okay. Because looking at this, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I've never heard of this. I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah. No, I liked.
Hey, Mark Ruffalo. So
Begin Again, I liked. She was decent in the Jack Ryan movie because I think she's in that. And Imitation Game was good, and I like Everest. Those are movies I remember that I enjoyed that she was in.
That's fair. I was just genuinely curious because I remembered it more from because Colette, we got movies at random times because whatever it says release date, that could be anything for New York, LA, so we just got movies at random intervals. And I remember just the back-to-back period piece Keira Knightley movie, and it was like, well, it's like the inverse of doing the Ben Affleck paycheck role, because like you have to assume she wants to do these, so these must be two back-to-back like just for her movies, and she's at that stage where she can just do whatever she wants and show up in a Pirates movie for another 10 minutes for probably like $20 million or something.
Whatever
absurd.
she got paid. So the reason she's up there, as I want to talk about, is I actually think she's a good period piece actress and good in certain roles, if that makes sense. Like specific roles are very well made for her. Like Bend It Like Beckham, I think works for her as a character. Stuff like that. But the point I want to bring up is, it's in my notes here, is the age difference for her and her other cast members in a lot of movies that she's been in. Because I was talking about this with my mod, Big Gaming Robot. I have no idea if he's lurking out there or not tonight. That was something him and I were discussing, is she is only 17, basically, throughout the entire filming of the first Pirates movie, and Orlando Bloom's like 26 at that point, and Johnny Depp is 40. And the reason we brought it up is it's a good look of how Hollywood casts male and females to a degree.
Yeah, it's indicative of the industry, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Except 26 and 18 is actually like a decent age gap for Hollywood.
That one's not bad, but it's more so that she's made to be a love interest of Jack Sparrow in the second movie.
Yeah, I think the second movie reminds me a lot. I mean, not to jump ahead, but it reminds me a lot of Transformers 2, where it just feels like something was hot, so they said make a sequel, and they went, hey, I don't know if it was actually impacted by the writer's strike, but it feels like a movie that was. It feels like they had 3 ideas for spin-offs that they wanted to set up, so they had to just toss everything into the pot altogether.
Yeah.
And then, like, also, I don't know, it's fine in certain media, but, like, you know, if you kill Superman, but say Justice League's coming out, I know he's not dead. And when you kill Jack Sparrow, like, no, because that's the only reason I was there to see Pirates 2 was because Jack Sparrow was in it. And you know that I'm only going to see Pirates 3 because they're like, we have to bring him back. Like,
Yeah.
I usually dislike those kind of plot deaths.
Yeah, so...
Especially when it adds nothing to the character at all. Like, even, especially in Justice League, where it's like, he died, he went Pet Sematary crazy. He's fine.
So here, let's...
Like, if it doesn't make the character change, but whatever.
Yeah, no, exactly. So here, let's just jump into the first movie. So we're going to talk about The Curse of the Black Pearl. I'll give a quick summary of the plot. Johnny Depp's a pirate. He steals some Aztecian gold. There's a curse to it. Got to return all the gold pieces, and you're no longer cursed. That is, yeah, that is the quickest way to summarize that movie.
Good movie.
It's a good movie. Yeah, it's
genuinely. I really wonder how much of it is the score, because even now, like before going back and rewatching any of the movies, the score still is in my head, and I don't know how much of it is replaying Kingdom Hearts however many times over the years. But like, it's one of the last few. Some of the Avengers movies, I think they have decent themes, but like if you played that on a radio or a boombox 20 yards away from a person, they'd be able to go like, no, I know what that is.
Like,
it's up there with like
yeah.
the Indiana Jones music and Star Wars music, even for just iconic.
The score is still like really good. That's the first thing that I thought of while watching it. I think what makes the movie genuinely good is it has a strong cast of characters around it. Like everyone who is playing whoever is a decent actor. It's not just like nobodies or people just looking for their first start or some like television actor to fill in the background. They are.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of what Bruckheimer does. Is like even Con Air, where you're like, wow, everyone is a character actor on this thing. Like, there's no role that they didn't pick someone interesting for.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point I want to bring up. Like Jeffrey Rush as Captain Barbossa, he's I think just as good of a character as Jack Sparrow is throughout the franchise. Or
that's fair.
Jack Davenport as Nordington. I thought he was really good. Like everyone just fits and works for the role they're supposed to be in that movie, and it pays off, I guess, for the characters that return, because there's like a level of chemistry there that you don't necessarily see in sequels sometimes.
I mean, it's kind of Disney getting its feet wet for eventually owning Marvel and Star Wars, where, especially like if you compare it to Rise of Skywalker, by the third one, you're like, okay, they just want to see characters that they know quipping with each other, doing action set piece moments.
Yeah, so I guess my question is, did you actually rewatch the first movie this weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on Disney Plus, so that's easy enough.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you had like a good recall of it or if you watched it. So my question for you, does it feel dated?
Not as much as, like, I don't know, I'm usually able to put myself in the mindset of when the movie was made. So even like rewatching Lord of the Rings Extended Edition lately, even though that's a Blu-ray up-res and blah, 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 like there are the moments that look of the time. But outside of that, no, I didn't think it. Like, I thought the visual style, Bruckheimer knows what he's doing. The performances are good. I liked in certain parts the lighting and atmosphere sold the time and place that they were trying to set it in. It didn't feel necessarily like the cartoon action ride that maybe it kind of is. It actually felt like, okay, it's like 16th century England or whatever.
It feels not of the period, but you at least have a sense of what it might be like to a little bit of a degree in that time period.
Yeah. I thought just setting up the world, I thought that one really nailed it.
Yeah, it sets up the world really well, and it lays the groundwork for sequels, but it takes messy directions in the groundwork that it chooses. It doesn't necessarily feel dated for me. I thought the CG actually looked shockingly better than it would for how old it is.
Well, all of that also Disney Plus, I think, is sometimes it's really good at streaming out stuff. Other times it can be glitchy depending on when it was launched or not.
Yeah.
But I wonder if those are retouched in any fashion because I'm sure they made some 4K set of Pirates movies that you can buy. So I wonder if it's like Star Wars and everything else, where
Yeah.
they touch it up, or if that is, if you got the old DVD, does it still look that good?
That would have to be an interesting thing to try and compare. I'd have to look into that.
But also,
'cause-
Disney isn't doing physical media anymore, so I guess
no, Disney is doing it's from the vault garbage. So if there is a property you like, I actually was looking at the Alien franchise this weekend. I'm like, I gotta buy this up because I might not be able to buy this for another 20 years.
Yep.
It's I hate how they handle that. That's Disney as a whole is a whole other conversation to have on another day.
Yeah. But no, in terms of like it feeling dated for an early 2000s action movie, it actually I think held up really remarkably well.
Yeah, it doesn't look of its time because when you think of other action movies from that era, they have like that orangish look to them.
Bad Boys 2 is what you're thinking of.
Yeah, Bad Boys 2 type of look, and this doesn't have it. It has like its own feel to it, which is nice. But the other two movies, that slowly evaporates, especially by the third one. My next question: is this the last like fun Disney live action movie that we've had outside of MCU stuff? Outside of Marvel?
If you're asking me personally, probably I'll have to pull up the list again to double check. But for me, outside of Marvel, which I have an affinity for, Disney is weird, and I don't love a lot of their movies. They feel very corporate. They feel by design. Let's see, because these are all just the live action remakes, but not just live action stuff. Because I haven't enjoyed any of the remakes of existing movies. Like, they're not bad. Aladdin is fine. Lion King is fine, but none of them are better than the original, so I never...
Jungle Book is fine.
I understand that they made them because of money.
Yeah.
And way to go for them. But, none of them ever stuck out as movies that ever felt like they had to be made or had or a purpose to them. And other than that, Disney's live-action stuff, there's, like, Maleficent.
Yeah, no, that's why I was
Wrinkle in Time.
That's why I was asking the question, because, like, it's one of the only ones that I think is probably genuinely good, if not... It's probably at the top, maybe number one for their live-action stuff, that isn't MCU-related or Star Wars or anything like that.
Yeah, let's see. I finally got... Oh, hey, Snow Dogs. Oh, that was 2002, so that doesn't count. Sorry, I finally got the full list. Herbie Fully Loaded. Does that count?
Yeah, and because
No, I'm trying to catch up to where the last... Because I'll say Pirates 3 still was, like, a fun event movie that I went and saw and didn't, like, regret seeing. Let's see. Past that... Okay, National Treasure Book of Secrets, 2007. Better than anything we're talking about here.
Okay. I'll give you National Treasure. I can't argue National Treasure.
To be fair, I like the first one. I don't... Sean Bean's the first one? I don't remember the second one.
Yeah, Sean Bean's the bad guy in the first one.
Ed Harris in the second one, so still a good movie. I mean, obviously, because it's National Treasure. But no, honestly, looking at everything else, outside of my genuine enjoyment of National Treasure, no. It's been Pirates is their last live-action thing that I think hit on any level.
Yeah, that's why I had it in the notes. As I was thinking about that while watching it, I'm like, wow, it's far and few between where they've had a live-action movie that I think connects like that.
Tron Legacy has a great soundtrack.
It has a very good soundtrack.
Other than that,
yeah, it's when you actually look at the nitty gritty of it. Sorry, I'm closing some of my tabs. I have a bunch open right now.
I just hit the wall where I started working, where they went like, "Wait, make Beauty and the Beast again." Oh, let's just do that. Let's just make the movie again.
Jungle Book I think set the tone for what they want to do. Like I
think the only movie, and I never saw it, but the only movie that actually seemed like an interesting concept was Christopher Robin.
I like that.
That seemed like someone actually kind of wanted to tell a story.
Christopher Robin was actually a very good movie. I
just didn't want to get bummed out by Winnie the Pooh.
It's got a happy ending. That's the one thing I'll say. It has a very happy ending. I will say of their live action stuff for the last 6 to 7 years, the only things I've genuinely liked are I liked The Jungle Book. I know it is of the nature of what they're doing now, which isn't necessarily great. I generally enjoy the Jungle Book, though. There's some nice changes in it that I thought
Why'd they
worked.
take the Snake's song out of it?
Okay, you got me there. That's a bad
Yep,
change.
there we go.
I
Stream
also
over. I'm going home.
I also genuinely liked Mary Poppins Returns. I know that's not for everybody, but I generally liked that movie. So
I never saw the original, so I had
it's fair.
I didn't. That's when I stopped working at the Disney multiplex and started working at the art house place. So Mary Poppins was not going to bring me back to that.
When you left, you're like, here you go, Sean. Here's my mouse ears. I'm done being a mouseketeer. I'm heading to the real film industry now.
Yeah, we're gonna show Joker over here.
So it's far and few between when they have like those live actions that really hit. I already talked about the cast chemistry. I'm just kind of like skimming over my notes really quick. For me, the one thing I kind of realized is, so Jerry Bruckheimer produced the Pirates movie. He's the producer on all of those movies. I remember just his name being like on fucking everything.
Well, how much CSI did you watch?
None, because my mom didn't like that show.
Oh, okay, then never mind.
Why is he the producer for CSI as well?
I believe so, yeah, because I've seen there's a joke in Arrested Development about the lightning striking the tree logo, and I've seen that 1,000 times, and I think it must just be because of CSI, which it's not that I watched CSI as much as we were poor and just had the box, so we had 5 channels.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess CSI's on, so I've seen a lot of it.
I'd have to go.
There's an episode that Tarantino directed you should look up. It's essentially just the part from Kill Bill Volume 2 where she's buried underground, but it's an episode of CSI for some reason.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to look that up then. Tarantino did an episode of Alias as well back in the day. I don't know if you've ever seen Alias.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a good episode.
I tried.
It's like it's got a Reservoir Dogs vibe to it of what he does. I'm just actually looking at Jerry Bruckheimer's like stuff he's producing. It's crazy how much he touches in the industry.
Oh yeah.
Like like he's gonna be the producer. He did Bad Boys for Life, which I hope sweeps the Oscars. Bad Boys 2020. And
I'm still rooting for Invisible Man. Yeah.
That's fair. And then he's gonna be doing. He's got his hands on Top Gun Maverick. So it's just like, I feel like I'll never be able to escape Jerry Bruckheimer producing or anything in the next 20 years.
I was trying to look up. I can't get the dates to line up, but there was the 2007 to 2008 writers' strike. Pirates 3 came out in 2007. I was just trying to see if it was affected by that, because
probably
that would explain parts of the script.
Probably not, because it probably would have been so.
Yeah, it would have been in the can by the time that.
Because I think 2 and 3 were filmed back to back, judging by the release dates.
I got that. You get that feeling from it.
Because one came out in 06 and the other one comes out immediately in 07. So
yeah,
I think they were filmed back to back. I'd have to look a little bit more into that. So anyway. First Pirates movie, it's genuinely good. I think it holds up pretty well, and it's the last good fun Disney movie that isn't just a remake of prior properties or a comic book related property.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I'd have to really think about it, because like generally when I rate movies in my head, I just do Letterboxd like full stars, and this one's like between a 3 and a 4, which isn't bad for me at all. The 5 stars is like a really amazing movie. And a 4 is just like so this is between a 3 and a 4 for me. Of like, it is really well made, well acted, well produced kind of pirate schlock, which is fun.
Yeah, it's got good acting. It is a really good cast. I think some of the characters are very well fleshed out, and it's nice to see them progress throughout the story or of the franchise. But it is of the franchise, it is by far the best one, and then it's a very, very steep drop off after that.
I was wondering if it was going to be a X-Men type thing, where, because I'm always interested to see when we pick a franchise, if it's one that people think have widely different opinions on, or if everyone just goes like, oh yeah, X2, and then the others X1, and then X3.
Yeah.
And these, I always felt, well, we'll get to the ranking at the end, but I've felt a general sentiment about these films, even showing 5, where people were mainly coming in just because
movie.
I don't know. A lot of people for big Disney films, especially where I used to work, it always felt like they were coming in because they were like, commercials told me I had to see it. So I wasn't sure if they even knew why they were seeing Pirates 5.
That was
You saw it.
No,
I think you were on a date, so like, yeah, you saw Pirates 5. That's a movie to see.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I saw it because I was on a date.
Yeah.
But the only reason I even watched 4 is because my friend, it was his birthday, and he's like, "Hey, I want to go watch Pirates on Stranger Tides," and I'm like, "Pirates for your birthday? You sure?" So that's what we went and watched, and then I watched 5 because I was on a date. So the only reason I've seen the later 2 is for unforeseen circumstance. I wouldn't go seek them out of my own like accord, but I did enjoy them for different things. But we'll get on those in a minute. So Dead Man's Chest. That is the second one of the 3. It is boring as shit. It is such a boring movie.
It's weird that both of them were filmed back to back, but also they're so like bloviated and long, and like because the first one there's a momentum to it, and then 2 and 3 they routinely stop for 5 minutes to just kind of ponder and just like not really do much.
So
sit and talk, bicker.
Yeah, the opening of the movie is Elizabeth and Will Turner are supposed to have their wedding day, and this unseen character arrives and has them arrested, and because of that they have to go to prison and in the gallows. And you haven't seen Jack Sparrow's not even on the screen yet at this point. And leading into that, you then meet the first villain of 2 villains in this movie. He's not even a villain yet. He's, I guess, a bad figure who hasn't fully revealed their intentions until the 3rd film. And
yeah, he's a dark side.
Basically. So his name's Lord Beckett. Lord Beckett's like, Jack Sparrow has his compass. Go find me Jack Sparrow and get me the compass, Will Turner, and I will pardon your fiancé and you for whatever. So then you spend another 10 minutes going to find Jack Sparrow, and then you spend another 30 minutes on an island of cannibalistic people who think Jack Sparrow is a god, and then you enter the
It's all like Endor again.
Yeah, then you enter the Jack Sparrow is a parody of Jack Sparrow at this point already in the franchise. It
really does feel like they weren't sure. It's a mixture of they weren't sure what made the first one work, and also maybe, I don't 100% know, but giving an actor free reign to be like, hey, you were right, so anything you want to do, go for it. Be as crazy as you want. And kind of like, I don't know, in my head, I've been working on this theory that maybe if I was born earlier, then Johnny Depp would be my Jared Leto of like, why do I hate that guy? And you go, I don't know, but there's something in you.
That's a good take.
It reminds me of like the Jared Leto putting in blind contacts for Blade Runner 2049 and Harrison Ford going like, you can just pretend to be blind, right? You don't have to do this.
Harrison Ford is a treasure.
Yes, he is. Protect him at all costs. Don't let him crash his plane into something. Whereas Johnny Depp, especially by the time you get to the 3rd one where they literally get Keith Richards to come in and Paul McCartney's in it.
Paul McCartney's not even in until the 4th one.
4th one? Yeah. I just remember the poster. I thought he was in 3. Well, no. Keith Richards playing his dad, like everything just being a like drunken buffoon cartoon character. It did probably feel like how certain episodes of Community, they just wrote like, Donald Glover will figure out something funny for Troy to say here. So multiple scenes were just, where's the rum gone?
Yeah.
Hey, everybody clap.
It almost makes you wonder how they even strung together the first movie, and then you get to this one, whereas
I thought it felt like Transformers 2, where even like the first Transformers is like, it's a fine setup for what could have come later if you got better with it, but instead they went, what did people like? Oh, the robots, and then the actual writer's strike affected that one, and there is no script, and then Robot Heaven, and then it just feels like a mess. It doesn't feel like someone who did want to write 2 movies back to back, because you'd feel like you would write better movies. Like there's no real. I don't know.
My other question is the writing team stays together for the next 2, Dead Man's Chest and World's End, and the 3rd. So they have the same writing team as the first 3 movies. Clearly, they must have had a vision in mind, but I feel like they.
No, I think they made one movie with some teases occasionally to set up, like, maybe if we did some more, that'd be cool. And then they were told, this did so well, do 2 more.
Yeah, sorry.
And then they had the desolation of Smaug it.
Let me reiterate. A vision
Smaug.
Smaug. A vision is the wrong phrase. It's more so they had ideas for potential sequels or spin-offs if they could.
They had a roadmap of release dates they wanted to put Pirates movies out.
Yeah, no, they had an idea if, like, hey, if this is a success, maybe we can build off it and do something else. And then I don't think anyone foresaw the first Pirates movie making almost $700 million off of a $100 million budget, or $140 million budget at the time.
It's just always fun. Usually for me, when I'm looking at movies, it's either Sony or Fox that does it. But it's fun to watch someone have something that's a huge success and go, well, why was it good? And have someone go like, well, because of X, Y, and Z, and have them go like, no, I think you're wrong. I think it's because we produced it. We know what we're doing.
Yeah, and then it's a little too much letting Johnny Depp get into the character or be Jack Sparrow. Like, I don't need... When he talks, he sounds like a drunken character on Doctor Who talking about time travel.
It gets into self-parody.
Yeah, and that's my feeling of the opening act of the movie is he's got the necklace on with, like, the toes and shit, and he's talking in the Jack Sparrow lingo and saying savvy and where's the rum and all this. And I'm just like, this isn't the character I liked from the first movie. And then he has, like, plot armor to the 10th degree that I've never seen.
Well, it's because they went, well, people like Jack Sparrow. Was it because he's kind of off to the side and he can comment on what's happening and be his own individual party that has agency and you don't know where he's going to go? Well, no, we need him to be like the hero on the center of the poster now. So he needs to have a hero's refusal and a, like, call to action, and he needs to have all the generic things because now he, even though he's an inherent scumbag and liar, which was core to the character, it feels kind of like what they wanted to do with Han Solo with his origin movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, he may have had some choice decisions here and there, but really, he's your guy.
And that's a fair assessment of it. So here, I'll summarize the second half of the movie. The second half of the movie is Johnny Depp is trying to outrun
Ghost Boat,
the Dutchman, and Davy Jones. So because he owes a debt to Davy Jones. Sips and listens. Hey, Suda.
I also think, like, it's a secondary Flying Dutchman to the SpongeBob SquarePants. So that's the other thing about Pirates. It's just not as good as SpongeBob.
No, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. So the second half of the movie is Will Turner gets tricked to being sent to the Dutchman to settle Jack Sparrow's debts, and because of that, it's all a setup for a fucking second movie. It's Iron Man 2 of the Pirates movies. It's in my notes.
It reminds me of
I have a brain aneurysm just trying to, like, get that all out.
It's oh man, I'm on a nope. It's gone.
It's fine. So it's a setup for the third movie. Essentially, Will Turner finds out his dad is on the Dutchman. He wants to figure out how to free his dad, and Johnny Depp is like, well, if I get Davy Jones's heart, because Davy Jones doesn't have a heart, it's sealed in a chest on a remote island because plot reasons.
Squad.
Yeah, because plot reasons. So, oh shit, it is.
I remembered what I was
going
to say. Yeah, it is. Sorry. I remembered what I was going to say. It feels like instead of like what I was saying about the first one where I enjoyed the real world aspects of it and how piracy and, global politics, they took the people like the spooky skeletons and did the Assassin's Creed weird world building thing of like almost John Wick level, like, okay, so pirates can go to these different places and these are the pirate like people that only know pirates. And then also here's the ghost ship full of, when pirates die, they have their own Asgard or Valhalla where they go to, and it's this boat and your dad's there and also none of this will be resolved by the end of the movie.
Exactly.
The movie's just going to end.
And that's the other point I want to make. Like, the first movie has mythical and magical things in it to a point where it's just right. This movie is like, I'm gonna lean so fucking hard into it. I
feel
can't...
like you need the Indiana Jones touch of weird stuff, but not have it be, all right, so we'll have Jack Sparrow and the Squid Man fight on top of a... Well, that's not this one.
We'll get there. Like,
we'll get there.
The Squid Man doesn't even show you how cool he is, or how cool he thinks he is until the third movie.
I don't know, he's already playing piano with his face.
Okay,
cool.
So that's actually in my notes. I actually thought... Not playing piano with his face, but...
Yeah.
I thought Davy Jones has a cool character design for that movie, not referencing SpongeBob, because SpongeBob is a whole other thing.
But I also didn't realize it was Bill Nye,
Yeah.
which makes sense.
Yeah, and I thought the performance of Davy Jones was actually very good, and I liked the look of the character. I just think everything is squandered because you're trying to cram 3 different plot lines into 2 different movies.
And honestly, even comparing him to current CG, like he's better than Steppenwolf. Like,
I love Davy Jones and Octopus Head. Yeah, he looks.
He looks really good.
Yeah, he looks
and it's
really
the thing
good.
Of, I don't know how much Disney is just touching, because if I was in charge of Disney, like Disney Plus, and you're putting Last Jedi on there for the first time, I'd be like, no, we have to touch everything. Everything has to look even better than it did before.
So make the Squid Man look better.
Still, like it's like we said, it's their biggest live action thing that, I mean,
isn't
a
a Marvel
Robbie
movie.
one or whatever they're doing next. It's not dead.
Yeah. So it's just wild. How good he looks, and the performance Bill Nighy gives is very well done. It's one of the newer characters added to the franchise that I enjoyed, and
it's hard to add someone in. Well, it's also interesting because I like it in theory. I also love Underworld, so that is part of. Like, I'm fine with Bill Nye in Schlock. Is also
he's really good.
Premium because he knows what he's doing. But they're trying to build a villain that was never there.
He's not kind of meant to be the villain, is what I feel like. Just love him. Davy Jones is, for me, he's an antagonist only to anything that's against him. He's not there to necessarily be the actual main villain, but the movie tries to make him that.
Yeah, he's not gonna like make a big beam into the sky that's gonna turn everyone into squid face people. He's just this kind of a sad octopus man.
Yeah, you learn.
It's an interesting character,
and
I really just think it's weird because they're trying to do standard action movie things, but it doesn't necessarily work when it's not like, hey, I got the plane. Like comparing it to Con Air or even the National Treasure, where it's like I've got this evil plot. It's just, hey, I'm cursed to be this sad squid man.
Yeah, I think if it was just focusing on him and not setting up for other things or preparing for a third movie, and there was
Kraken and everything else,
and that's in my. So here we'll just go through my notes a little bit more. It wastes the Kraken. The Kraken is just tentacles out of the water. There's nothing else past it. It's just such a shame. Like, you have this mythical creature that is fantasized about in novels of pirates and stuff, and it's just squandered.
I'd have to look at the timeline of American consciousness. Did people really care about the Kraken before the Clash of the Titans trailer with Liam Neeson?
I would have to actually look into that. That's a fair point.
Because, like, the only thing I remember about when I first saw the second one was the death fake out.
With
and just going like, oh, okay, sure, yeah.
Well,
it's kind of it reminds me of Infinity War, where it's like, oh man, Black Panther died. And I'm like, oh, sure, guys, okay, yeah, he died.
He died totally, yeah.
You killed Jack Sparrow, I'm sure. Can't wait for the trailer that has like Super Mario 128 Jack Sparrows bouncing around in a 3D space.
So speaking of the fake out of Jack Sparrow's death, because I watched these recently, we get to that point with Keira Knightley handcuffing him. It's like, well, it's following you. I have to do it. I'm like, where's your plot motivation here? What did he do to wrong you, other than you kind of have weird feelings for him that they're trying to force into the storyline?
Yeah, it doesn't seem character motivated, really. It felt like a thing of, well, we had almost the Hobbit situation of, we've got 2 movies, I need a cliffhanger ending. Well, she doesn't like Jack, so I guess she'd murder him in cold blood by leaving him here.
It's like you said, they needed like some ending to get you into the next one.
Solve a problem. It's there to like just commit murder. Like
she murders a man.
Like, yeah, and like he does. The counter argument is he does suck.
Oh,
and I'm sure if it was the real world, I'd be like, yeah, that dude. Because there was no way this would all end without him screwing us all over. So good call taking him out now.
And that's gonna be my point when we get into the next movie. Is everyone is just in it for themselves and to fuck each other over. There's no like
pirates.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to touch on, because I messaged you a little bit, and then I went on Twitter rants for both movies last night, and holy shit, is this movie dark compared to the first one? Like, you there's the prison sequence where Jack is trying to get the key to find the unlock Davy Jones's heart and stuff, and it's just people getting murdered, and it's grim, like very
Well,
grim.
it's bloodless murder, so it's PG-13.
There is blood. There is actually a lot of blood in these movies.
Well, I mean, in terms of how the MPAA looks at it.
Yes.
And also, it's Disney, so they're not going to tell them, like, can you recut this? Like,
the first one was very comical. Yeah, the first one's comical. The second one is not. Going over my notes again, one of the things with the second one, I actually think it has some of the better action between the three movies.
they're all still well shot for the most part.
Yes, they are still well shot. I just think it has some of the better sword fighting and like moving around areas. The second one was very dramatic. The second one is extremely dramatic because they have nothing to really do other than find Davy Jones's heart.
It's a lot of melodrama.
Yeah, it's a lot of setting up characters' motivations for whatever the next movie is. This is the movie, so when watching where I noticed Keira Knightley has a much bigger character and has a better performance. There's a point where Commodore, Cherner, and Sparrow are fighting on a beach with each other over the heart, and she's trying to get their attention, so she just starts fucking mocking Jack Sparrow and doing like a mimic of him, and they still don't pay attention to her, so then she does her fainting thing, and I'm just like, oh shit, you have a lot of range that wasn't in the first movie that's now like breaking through in here. And that's kind of where I realized, I'm like, okay, you are just as good as the other two main characters of this film.
Yeah, I just always felt like it was a little hollow in the second, and then leading into the third movie. It didn't really feel, like I said, it wasn't like this character wants this treasure or whatever. It was like, Davy Jones is here, and we're now dealing with mythical pirates and then pirate lords, and it just got very
it's convoluted,
almost like Game of Thrones, where in the very beginning you're just, hey, pirates, there's a little bit of weird, she's got dragon eggs but no dragons, and then by the time you're at the end and you're in a whirlpool firing cannons at each other,
yeah,
it escalates at a rapid rate.
It jumps the shark very quickly in the second movie in what it's doing. The cast is still good. I mean, I still went back to see the third one in theaters or drive-in or whichever. So yeah. It's not like it was terrible. It just it was not something that ended. It wasn't like Lord of the Rings, where when you saw those in theaters and they went like, all right, we'll be back next year. You were like, oh man, I want to see that now. Pirates was like, okay. Yeah, and that's the point I was going to make up is 2 is fine. Of the 3, it is just fine. It is nothing special. It has got some very good moments in it in terms of action and set pieces, but it drags its feet with the plot. It doesn't establish who is really the bad guy, and the main characters are all very unlikable in this movie. Yeah, genuinely, it's the same kind of takeaway I have in the first one, where it's just like, well, at least Johnny Depp is enjoyable to watch. Yeah. And he is still, in a sense, but like I said earlier, like none of the characters are making choices that feel inherent to who the characters are. They just feel like, well, we wrote a plot and then we just kind of changed the names to Jack Sparrow and Will Turner. And yeah, that's essentially what they did. So we'll just move right into World's End because the second one and the third one blend, basically. The plot opens with the Asian pirate stuff. Jack Sparrow's dead. Oh, at the end of the second movie, Barbossa isn't dead from the first movie. He's revealed to still be alive or resurrected, whatever. And he has to help them go save Jack Sparrow from Davy Jones's locker. And this is when you start to lean into the sipping their own Kool-Aid too much, even more so than the second one. Because you mentioned a little bit ago, they established pirate lords. Calypso is now a thing. That's a whole other thing they try to add to the movie, and you have probably one of the dumbest endings I've seen in a long time to things, because I forgot how dumb the ending of 3 is till recently. That's why I was trying to look up if the writer's strike affected it, because like that would at least excuse, like, especially if you're writing them back to back and you have some prep time, like how is this the movie that has like upskirt jokes in it? It's got upskirt jokes. It is. So the second movie is 2.5 hours long. This movie is almost 3 hours long, and it feels like 4. And like nothing. It's like things happen, but it doesn't feel like
You know, I mean, it's not to compare it to Endgame or whatever, but that's a 3 hour long movie where it feels like things are happening all the time.
Yeah,
These movies, they just talk. They debate about like, well, I'll trade you this key if you do this for me. Like, you know.
and two at least has things happen in it and things move around.
Three is just saving it up like it thinks that the whirlpool is going to make up for the lack of action throughout the rest of the movie.
Because you spend the first 40 minutes of the movie getting Jack out of the... Because I paused a few times to see where I was at the movie. It takes about 40 minutes to get Jack out of Davy Jones's locker, and that is such a squandered sequence, and it's so poorly designed and written for what it probably could have been. It's just a fucking desert, and Jack is going mentally insane and seeing multiple versions of himself talking to himself, running a ship.
It reminds me of Justice League, where it's like, all right, we got to bring Superman back. How are we going to do that? I don't know. We'll do this like thing. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, he's back.
Yeah, it's there's like a moment like Elizabeth's dad dies, and you see him sailing down the river to go into purgatory or whatever that place is that Davy Jones's locker, and that's a cool moment, but all of it's squandered and wasted because you've done nothing to this point. You've built up none of the story, and we're still all in the same mess we were from the second movie.
Yeah, it's definitely... For me, nothing about the third one really has any redeemable qualities. Like, it's shot fine, the action's shot well, you know. It's a perfectly competent movie, but I just... especially in the way that it's trying to wrap up a trilogy, but also still back end like go, no, we're gonna keep making more of these. Like, there's no way this won't make money.
It sets up for the next movie almost immediately.
Yeah.
Which I'll talk about Stranger Tides and Dead Man Tell No Tales briefly at the end. But yeah, the third movie, I want to know how they got to it and how they tied it all together, because that is such a sloppily written thing with no clear drive or vision for where everything is supposed to go, other than, well, we're not going to get Orlando Bloom back because we probably can't afford him, and we can't afford Johnny Depp and Orlando Bloom plus Keira Knightley at this point, so we got to write him off. So how about Orlando Bloom stabs the heart of Davy Jones, he takes over the Dutchman, and we're out, we're done. Like, that's
even though, like, I mean, it, you know, saving his father is one thing, but most of the narrative of his character is being in love with Keira Knightley.
Yeah, and
Elizabeth Swann.
If you
so
and your dad would understand is the worst part. Like, your dad would be like, "No, go be with her. You don't need to save me. I'm serving my time. I understand." And
it just feels like something you pitched to an executive, and they go, "Like, yeah, totally," because they didn't even see the movie.
Yeah,
and then that's the movie now.
I didn't realize till you pointed out to me that Calypso, or Mia Dia is Naomi Harris. And
yeah, she's a great actress.
Yeah, and I just was like, oh shit, that is Naomi Harris. And I'm like, you deserve so much more, and you're only in so few things.
Yeah.
So that was like a weird thing to remember. But the whole Calypso stuff is really dumb. And that she resurrects Barbossa to be freed from her mortal shell. Things that should have been established in the second movie that you should have known.
Yeah, especially after, once you're in the third movie, you're like, well, why did we spend 2.5 hours of kind of nothing that we could have set up to have this be more of a payoff? Like, I think the tough part with killing off a character and bringing it back, especially with how long it takes for them to bring Jack Sparrow back.
It took so long.
That's got to be a 2 into 3. So you can still open it with that, but you could also have them, hey, actually it was a wrong idea to kill Jack because we need him for this, and have it instantly propel into the finale, which would then be the final 2 hours, instead of, all right, now let's go meet Chow Yun-Fat. Now let's go get all the Pirate Lords together.
And that's the next thing I'm going to bring up is the Pirate Lords. That is so dumb. Like, it is kids level dumb to have Pirate Lords. I don't know what the purpose they were to serve, other than to give you a whole other group of people to have for the final bloated action sequence that is the third act of the movie.
That's why it's weird they're lining up with The Hobbit in my head, because they were like, well, we need a big fight. well, who's going to fight? Well, we need to add more people in that can join the fight, but not be the people that they're really fighting.
Yeah,
It's like, all right,
so
Battle of 5 armies, Battle of 17 pirate lords.
so then they create pirate lords. Then you learn they have a pirate codex, and it literally says pirate codex on the fucking book. And Johnny Depp's dad is the keeper of the codex, or keeper of the code.
Yeah.
And they need to elect a pirate king, and everyone always votes for themselves because they're selfish. So Johnny Depp decides, like, I'm going to make Elizabeth Swann the pirate king. So he votes her into the pirate king, and she's able to enact law and everything. But again, every character is out for themselves, which I guess is true to being a pirate, so that makes sense. But they're still crossing each other and setting each other up for failure. And even at the third act, when everyone should be working together to stop Beckett and Davy Jones and whatever, they're still trying to double cross one another.
Which, I mean, that's an interesting thing, like Tarantino movies, there's ways to do that. I just, by the 20th time we've cut back to the two pirates and the eyeball with the monkey, like, there's just so many characters. Like, it's got insane bloat.
That's when I talk about Stranger Tides and Dead Men Tell No Tales, that might be the one thing I'll say I appreciate is the just a Johnny Depp and Mr. Gibbs adventure, and everyone else is just an added piece to it.
That's the thing is, I haven't seen either of 4 or 5, but the parts that I have seen, like, I do appreciate, like you said, that it's just like, all right, well, let's just focus on Jack and just have a story, and that's that.
Yeah,
that can be totally fine. Not everything has to be. Everything has led up to this one final gigantic confrontation, and everything,
Yeah, and
you just tell a pirate movie. That's fine.
So the final confrontation is the whirlpool. So they release Calypso, or Medea, which she's just like she becomes a giant lady, then she becomes the clouds, and then she makes the whirlpool happen, and then they fight in the whirlpool, and it is some of the most over the top action I think I've seen out of a major blockbuster since probably Ready Player One. Just like ridiculousness, ragdoll physics of how is this man not dead, swinging rope to rope and like things blowing up around him.
It's very Uncharted.
Yes, it is very Uncharted. It's
like literally video gamey.
It is very video gamey. That is the definition of Jack Sparrow though. Going forward, is they have like this video game sequence of what dumb thing can Jack do to save himself this time, guys. But yeah, the third movie is just it's a long mess of getting Johnny Depp back to life, meeting the pirate lords, and then fighting giant squid monster at the end. And it takes forever.
That's why I never understand why, like, a movie studio or any story where they kill off a character just instantly bring them back. Like, it's one thing when you kill Captain America during Civil War in the comics.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be maybe 2 years till you bring him back, and then that can be a big event book, and everyone can just forget that he was shot by time bullets and he didn't really die. But, like, when it's part of second movie directly into third movie and they're instantly just going to go and get him back, then why did they kill him besides to add 40 minutes of stuff to happen?
Yeah, none of it makes sense.
Like, it'd be one thing if he came back and was literally a changed man because he saw the other side and he was like, or even if
he's still a shitbag. He is still Jack Sparrow.
He's Jack Sparrow. And then fourth and fifth one, they're like, yeah, definitely just be Jack Sparrow because that's what people liked. Just be that guy.
Yeah, and one of the things in my notes is it's got the worst third act of any of these movies. I've seen all 5. I can easily say it has the worst third act of any of the 5 because it's just a very messy, overproduced ending. And with that, I will briefly touch on Stranger Tides and Dead Men Tell No Tales. So at the end of 3, you learn that there's the Fountain of Youth because they have the Asian charting maps and stuff. So Pirates 4 is got Penelope Cruz, Ian McKellen in it, and not Ian McKellen.
I was about to say Ian McShane.
Ian McShane, thank you.
I was going to say Ian McKellen, like, oh, actually, should I watch this?
Yeah, no, it's got Ian McShane in it as Captain Blackbeard, and Barbossa returns, Mr. Gibbs returns. Those are your returning characters, and it's got, again, it leans very into the 3 and 2 set the tone of, let's go full blown with the magical stuff. We're gonna get away from whatever made the first one work. We're gonna run with this. They're looking for the Fountain of Youth because Blackbeard is foreseen his death, and it's fine. It's a fun adventure movie. It's nothing about it is wrong. It's just not it's not a captivating story. I only rewatch these movies because I was doing this podcast. It's not a movie I'd be like, hey Dan, we should watch fucking Pirates Stranger Tides because it's worth our time.
It definitely seems like a Disney Plus thing of like, hey, have you seen this? And the other person goes like, I don't know. I guess just put it on.
Yeah,
and then you like fold laundry or whatever.
Yeah,
that's totally fine.
It's that. Penelope Cruz is very good in it, and so is Ian McShane. All the new characters, everyone is great. They add 2 unknown characters: a religious man, and a mermaid, who their whole point of being in the movie is irrelevant. So we'll move past that. Stranger Tides is fine. It actually has higher ranking on my list than one of the other movies. Because I ranked all 5. I know you only ranked the 3, but I saw all 5, so I felt the need to rank all 5. Dead Man Tells No Tales is visually appealing. It's got some of the best CGI in the last 5 years. The effects for Javier Bardem look really cool. The effects for the ship and the ghosts looks really, really well done. Javier Bardem tells a good story, It gives a good performance. The story is fine. Essentially, at this point, Will Turner is still the Dutchman. His son Henry is trying to save him from the Dutchman, so he needs to find Poseidon's trident to free all the curses of the sea, and that is the call to action for that character. And he has to find Jack Sparrow to help him do it. And
it's a fun plot synopsis.
Yeah,
like
and
I always did walkthroughs, and it always seemed fun. Like, it wasn't a movie that looked terrible, even.
Yeah,
it just, it's kind of the X-Men effect of like how many. You fooled me once. Actually, I liked the first one. Second one, third one. All right, I'm tapping out. It's the Transformers effect of like, no, by the time you get to 5, I'm done.
It's got some backstory in it too for Jack that you didn't have before. You learn how he becomes a captain of a ship, and that's because Javier Bardem's character is a Spanish sea captain who hunts pirates. That is his sole purpose in life, is to hunt pirates, and that's all he cares about. Johnny Depp gets the compass. You learn that the compass takes you to whatever you desire most, which is one of the moving things of that thing throughout the whole franchise. So he uses it to outmaneuver Javier Bardem's character, traps him in this thing called the Devil's Triangle, where he gets brutally murdered by rocks and stone, and the sea takes him and turns him into a ghost stuck in the Devil's Triangle forever, and he needs to escape to kill Johnny Depp. And there's other things that happen, like Barbossa has a daughter. You meet his daughter in the movie, and Will Turner reappears as the Dutchman, and Keira Knightley appears at the end for a little bit as well. So 5 is actually, I think, a good movie in the sense of all of the Pirates films. It is good that it moves the story along, it adds new things to it, and it is another fun individual adventure that doesn't try to add too many additional plot lines to the ongoing story that is Pirates of the Caribbean.
It's just crazy to think that it could be this convoluted. After just watching the first one, and you're like, that was fun, and you're like, you don't even know. You don't rank your factions. There's so many different. Yeah, like
it was jarring going from the first one all the way to 5 in the span of 24 hours.
It's kind of like Metal Gear Solid, where the first one you're like, all right, there was some weird stuff, but mostly it was normal, and then you go to 2 and you're like, yeah, I don't think this is the normal pirate thing I thought.
And that's my feeling when I got to 3. I'm just like, all right. It's 10 o'clock. This one's done. Fuck it. Put on the 4th one. We'll wrap the 5th one up tomorrow. Let's just get this done. It's crazy. The world building that they try to do or want to do is very identifiable to what the MCU was doing or is doing. They clearly wanted to have another franchise like that, and I think Pirates was in their head going to be that franchise. Still could be. Probably might be, because I'm sure they are not sure. I know they're making another one based on a lot of the reading I was doing. So yeah, tell you what, let's do a quick break. We'll do our rankings, and then we have a couple other things in store, so we'll do that. We'll be back in like 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Where is the thing? Okay. Hang on, my camera is now like all jacked up, so give me a second here.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm like frozen on screen. It's amazing. I'm like,
I'll just move my mouth when you talk, so it looks like someone's talking.
I can fix it. It just takes a second. There we go. Okay, we should be good. Yeah, we're good now.
Nice.
Technology's amazing, guys. All right, so we're back. We're gonna do our rankings. Do you want me to just read mine off first, since I have 5 of them?
Go for it. Yeah, you got 5. I've only got 3.
Yeah. Number 5 is World's End. I think it's a dog shit movie. Out of all 5 of them, I generally think it's the worst of the 5. Number 4 is Stranger Tides. It's fine. It's nothing special. Its story is it's like a made for TV movie. That's what it comes across as, so that's why it's there. But it's better than 5 because it at least goes places and is very to the point of what it's trying to do. Dead Men's Chest is 3. I thought it was okay for what it is. It's basically there to set up the third movie. Is what it is. Number 2 is Dead Men Tell No Tales. I really like that movie. After rewatching it, I was like, you know what, this movie's actually very good, and I think this is maybe the direction the franchise should have went after the third movie in the first place, not the fourth movie. And then number 1 is Black Pearl. The Curse of the Black Pearl is genuinely a really good movie.
Do you think Tell No Tales... Did you mute yourself?
No.
Oh, no, there you go. You're coming through. You're cut out here for a second.
Sorry about that.
Do you think Tell No Tales would be as high if you didn't watch all the movies? Like, do you think standalone it's better, or do you have to know everything about the Pirates universe to really get everything out of it?
If I were to take that into consideration, it probably would be lower on the list then. I
was just curious if it was personal enjoyment or...
It's both. It's personal enjoyment, and because I've seen all 5 back to back and I have that knowledge in my head now, that's why I'm able to rank it so high. But if I were just an average movie person who only had seen a handful of these, say like the first one, the 5th one, and the second one, it would probably be last on my list.
I was wondering.
So yeah, I'm curious as to what yours are, because I know what number 1's going to be.
Yeah, mine are pretty boring, because it's, there we go. Just 1, 2, 3. I think they kind of went downhill, because the first one I think is that lightning in a bottle effect of that Johnny Depp performance at that time.
Yeah.
Action, tentpole, fun movie, captured everybody. And then I think the second one did I enjoyed the John Wick films, but the John Wick thing of like, we're going to expand the world to the nth degree. And then the third movie doubled down on that. Instead of taking all of the elements and telling a story with it, it just kept adding more elements and getting weirder.
It didn't
and
rein
then
it
to
back
the point
in.
where 4 and 5 I had no interest, because 4 I really did hear was kind of like a standalone, which can be fine, but especially in a world with this much lore and stuff, you almost don't want it to just be this weird side adventure that doesn't touch on anything else.
It's 4 is it's boring. It's just boring. It doesn't add anything to the world per se, other than a few things that get answered in the 5th movie. But it doesn't. It's just there. It's a standalone thing. I think that was the test to see if they could do just Jack Sparrow and not have other characters in it, and that's why the 5th movie brings back Will Turner, Elizabeth Turner, and ties all of that stuff together. But yeah, no.
That's why, honestly, we're pretty much on overall the same page. I just haven't seen 5.
If you remove,
because honestly, from what I know of 4, I'd probably put it above 3 just because I really don't enjoy 3.
Yeah,
so realistically, I probably agree.
Yeah, I think if you were to watch 4 and 5, for whatever reason, if you had to, our list would probably somehow be very similar. The one thing I'll say with 5 is it has a de-aged Johnny Depp in it. And
how does that look?
It looks okay. It's not...
it's Disney, so...
Yeah, it's not as good as Civil War Tony Stark.
Robert Downey Jr.
and it's not as bad as Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay.
It's kind of like in the middle.
Okay.
I think it's probably
Kurt
their.
Russell.
Yeah, I think it's where they started. I've learned of Disney movies is it's really just for them to try new technology, not really make movies.
Yeah.
Because it actually, Dead Men Tell No Tales won the Visual Effects Academy Award in that year.
I mean, the effect on Javier Bardem alone.
He looks cool. He looks very cool.
It's really cool. So
yeah, if you're don't, like you said, you can just look up the clips of him because you and I were talking about it earlier before we did the podcast. He's like, I could just look up clips of him. I'm like, just look up clips of him. He's really good. And it's funny, I didn't know he's married to Penelope Cruz, so they both have been in pirate movies together. Not together, but in the franchise.
yeah, they had a movie.
Vicky Cristina Barcelona was in theaters when I worked.
I was thinking it's called Everybody Knows. It was like an indie drama that they were both in 2 years ago now.
Not the Brad Pitt one to save his marriage to Angelina Jolie.
No.
That movie was bad. But everybody knows, though, you were going to say that's an interesting film, I take it?
Yeah. Not to give anything away, but, it's a kind of family drama, suspense, thriller kind of thing, all foreign language. So it's worth checking out if you're into those kind of movies.
I'd agree. Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. One of the things we can touch on before we move along... I know they're making another Pirates movie. Originally, it was going to be... Not that I have insider knowledge, let me clarify. I've just done enough reading in the past couple days to know some stuff. They originally were going to reboot the franchise because of Johnny Depp and legal actions of Amber Heard. Because other things have come out. Johnny Depp is... It's supposedly it was confirmed. It's not fully official yet. But he's coming back to do another Pirates film because... Of course... Because originally they were going to reboot it, and it was going to be like Margot Robbie in it, and a bunch of other people. But
has the Margot Robbie stuff gone away?
No, she's still attached. It's just I don't think it's just her role probably has changed. If I had to wager, she was going to be the Jack Sparrow character or something similar to that accord. So Jack Sparrow's got a daughter, kids. Could work.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they're making another one. The budgets on these movies, by the way, were insane. Like the first Pirates, 140 to 150. That's pretty modest. 2 and 3 come close to almost $500 million combined, and then the third one I think actually had a fairly decently.
Yeah, that's one of the most expensive movies ever made. The
third one.
Yeah, well, or before we got to like Endgame, Infinity War, film back to back, technically being like $500 million, but.
So hang on, go forward. Stranger Tides. Stranger Tides had a budget of anywhere from $350 to $400 million. That's for Stranger Tides. World's End, yeah, it's around. They're all around the same number. I guess assume the cast.
So much money. Yeah, I assume it's all of that.
And filming in water like, and all the CGI that they use. Dead Men Tell No Tales. Sorry, Dead Men Tell No Tales had the astoundingly large budget. But yeah, we watched the Pirates movies. That's what I did this weekend. I did it. Hopefully, whatever we have for next week's episode is a much better discussion. Because holy shit, I don't need to watch another.
Don't want to watch Pirates.
I don't want to watch Pirates. I don't ever want to watch. Like, I'm gonna ban it right now. I'm not watching Transformers movies for discussion.
Oh no, I wouldn't do that to me or to you.
I've already done it to me. I'm not doing it again.
No, I've seen 2.5. And that's all I'll ever see.
I haven't seen Bumblebee. I've seen all of them but Bumblebee, which I heard is the good one outside of the first movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's a low bar, though, so.
Yes. Kelsey Grammer's the bad guy in this one, kids.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Yeah, he's the bad guy.
Whatever. Look, no. So moving on, I've got a segment. I found a MCU bracket that seeded them by IMDb movie scores. I got it from thedirect.com, so I did just take their bracket, but who cares? So, Instead of like reading everybody and where they're seated, I figured it'd be easier just to talk it out, and I'll keep track of who wins what bracket.
Okay.
Are you a person that rounds of brackets or rounding out a conference at a time?
I prefer conference at a time, but I don't mind doing rounds of
Did that make
brackets.
sense?
Yeah. You're.
Also, I can't hear you.
Yeah, your web.
Oh, and I'm frozen.
Yeah, you're frozen in your webcam. So here, how about I drop you off and bring you back on? Oh. We're gonna bring Dan back, guys. Just hang tight. We might have lost him completely. Oh no. Oh, it's my end. Hang on. Okay.
Is everything? Are we back?
Yeah, I think we're back.
Thanks, Discord.
I just need to fix my Discord capture.
No, you're good. That'll be a clean edit point.
Yeah, I'll get there. I don't really edit these for YouTube, full disclosure. I'll edit my Let's Plays, but these I just throw up there as is because it.
Let them see how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
So before, I don't know where I dropped off, but I got the.
You were talking
so
about
an MCU bracket from the direct.com. Do you want to go like each individual like round, or do you want to do like this conference, this conference, this conference, this conference finals?
I'm fine with doing round because I think that's better. Because I feel like with doing it as conferences, it can be messy.
That's fair. All right, so just to start off, the first one on the list, Ant-Man versus Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man versus the Wasp for me. So
Ant-Man 2.
Ant-Man 2 is better than Ant-Man 1.
I would agree.
Okay.
Like for me, adding the Wasp and honestly Evangeline Lilly in the role and what the character does, I actually really enjoyed. And the fact that it leaned in almost more into the comedy instead of the first one definitely feels like a comedy version of a Marvel movie, but the second one just feels like a comedy movie, and I really enjoyed that.
I think it's because the first one still tries to use a lot of the Edgar Wright stuff with the Peyton Reed stuff mixed into it, and it doesn't...
That's fair. It does feel like a bit of a Frankenstein movie.
Yeah, and it works. The first one works for what it is, but
yeah.
Like you said, 2 adds the Wasp. I actually liked the villain, or Ghost, in the movie. I thought she was unique, and Walter Coggins, is that his name?
Walton Goggins.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Definitely better than Yellow Jacket.
Yeah, it flows better. Paul Rudd is still delightful. Michael Douglas is still good. Everything works for it.
All right, next up we have Avengers: Age of Ultron versus Thor: The Dark World.
Age of Ultron.
Yeah, that's not really
Dark World.
Really a conversation. Yeah, Dark World. Bottom. If it's not the bottom, it's in the bottom 3. It's
Dark World is bad. It's bad. It's okay. It's fine.
I think it's kind of like some of the Pirates movies where it's like, it's watchable. It's not like the worst movie I've ever seen. It's just unremarkable and boring and kind of adds nothing.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that.
All right, Spider-Man: Far From Home versus Captain America: The First Avenger.
Far From Home versus Captain America: The First Avenger. That's tough. I'll let you go first on this.
I'm going Captain America: First Avenger just because I think the character moments alone establish who that character is through not even his own movies, but every movie. Whereas Far From Home, for me personally, I don't even enjoy it as much as Homecoming. So, and it's a movie that,
Far From Home's the sequel. I got the titles confused.
Oh yeah, no.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
This is my
answer's much easier now. Captain America.
Okay, so that's the thing is like I don't dislike Far From Home, but like it's just not. It doesn't compare to the previous Spider-Man movie, let alone Captain America.
I think I need to see the whatever the third movie is, to truly determine how to know how I feel about Far From Home, because Far From Home has some repercussions in it that I'm waiting to be answered.
All right, well, we're going to the other side of the bracket now. We've got Iron Man 3 versus Iron Man 2.
I don't love either of them.
I haven't rewatched Iron Man 2 in a very long time, but I would go Iron Man 3.
I rewatched Iron Man 3 after we spoke about it during
sometime during the quarantine.
During X-Men podcast, we talked about Iron Man 2 a little bit. I think one of the podcasts we did recently. Iron Man 2 is got moments, but Iron Man 3 is it's not a setup movie for Avengers, so I would go Iron Man 3.
Yeah, it actually felt like its own movie, kind of, sort of. Still don't love, Guy Pearce and all that, but I think compared to, Mickey Rourke and Whiplash and the weirdness of Iron Man 2 being a universe setup movie, I think at least Iron Man 3 is a movie that you could watch without needing to necessarily watch every movie.
If you were to go from Iron Man to Iron Man 3, you'd be fine. Iron Man 2 is there to serve setting up everything, not everything, but parts of Avengers.
Yeah. So next up, we've got Doctor Strange versus the Incredible Hulk.
Doctor Strange, easily.
Yeah, that one's another... Incredible Hulk, another movie I don't dislike, but it's just at the bottom of the pile for Marvel movies. So that's kind of...
Yeah, especially
seeding them by IMDb ranking, you kind of... where certain things are going to go, and this is one of those.
Yeah, because Doctor Strange, I love the visuals. I like Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange himself, or Stephen Strange. My issue with the Hulk movie is Ed Norton doesn't get to portray the character ever again, so I don't know if that role grows with him or if it is what it is. And Abomination's a bad villain. I think there was potential there for a sequel. It just got squandered, and between Paramount and the fact Disney, I think, needs Paramount's permission to make a Hulk movie.
Yeah, they would have to be cut in, so that's why he can be in other people's movies, but not his own.
Yeah, so it's got its own messy issues. That's why Doctor Strange easily wins.
All right, next one. Similar to this, Black Panther and Thor.
I like both. Black Panther's the better movie.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going.
I guess
I like Tom Hiddleston in the setup of Loki, but to compare them is kind of unfair.
It's if Thor. If Chris Hemsworth doesn't look as goofy as he does in the first Thor movie,
yeah, that might help. Yeah, if they didn't dye his eyebrows.
Yeah, if he doesn't look goofy, and if the villain isn't the walking metal monster along with Loki, like there's actually a more overarching villain,
and it wasn't set in a small Oklahoma town.
Yeah, I would generally enjoy Thor more, and it's only because Killmonger is a better villain and helps make Black Panther such a unique, good film. And I'm making it rain. It's a great line.
Yeah. All right. Final matchup of the first round: Spider-Man: Homecoming versus Captain Marvel.
Spider-Man: Homecoming. I don't even have to think about that. I like Captain Marvel, and I actually enjoy. I think Brie Larson's going to do very well with that role. It's just that movie lacks a little bit of emotion to make it fully click with me.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like I didn't get a real good handle on who, and I'm a comic book reader, so I know who these characters are, but the movie didn't sell me on who Carol Danvers really is.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It just went, hey, she's Captain Marvel now, and then when she shows up in Endgame, it's cool, and she's got the haircut and space mohawk, and I like all that stuff. But just as a movie, it didn't really do much for me.
Yeah, it doesn't help move the bar enough to make me care.
All right, so we got our first entry of something that was seeded just because it's too good. So now we have Ant-Man and the Wasp versus Avengers Endgame.
Endgame.
Yeah.
No offense.
That's going to be kind of the problem of the bracket is, you're going to have a heavy hitter step in.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do like Ant-Man and the Wasp more than, I'd say a lot of Marvel movies actually, but...
I think I've actually rewatched that more than other Marvel movies recently. Like it's a good background movie that I can turn around in my chair and be like, "Hey, I get that reference. Hey, that's a fun sequence."
I might do that in the coming coming days and weeks, because I do want to rewatch Ant-Man and the Wasp now. It's just a fun movie.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Endgame, obviously. All right, the next one of two seeded champions, Captain America: Civil War versus Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I'm gonna go Civil War. I like both. Let me be clear. I like all of these movies for different reasons, but I like Civil War more.
I'll go Civil War as well, just to make it easier. But boy, I don't know. Because those two are two that could be number one overall for me on any given day.
Yeah,
I really like Guardians 2.
Guardians 2
Kurt
has
Russell is fantastic.
Yeah, it's got really great moments, but in terms of the blockbuster lover inside of me, I gotta go Civil War.
Nothing beats the airport scene. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing beats the airport scene. That's the introduction of Spider-Man into the MCU, and they make it work. It shows the repercussions they have as heroes, which they weren't really doing at a time, with like the Sokovia Accords and all of that. So it's got some really great moments. I could fucking Tony Stark telling Friday to program Captain America's movements into his like system so he can like combat him.
Also, I think for me the tipping point is the fact that like I still remember seeing on Twitter, hey, somehow Disney got Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And just being so excited at the prospect of him being in it, let alone how good he was in it. So I'll give it to Civil War just for that.
Yeah, it's nothing against Guardians 2. Guardians 2 is a very good movie. Yeah.
Well, we've got another seed coming up here. We've got Guardians of the Galaxy 1 versus Avengers Age of Ultron.
It's Guardians, because Guardians shouldn't work, and it does.
Yeah, I was about to say, this isn't one that you should really even think on. I don't hate Avengers 2.
I like Age of Ultron.
I enjoy a lot of it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work nearly as well as Avengers 1 or the others to me. But I do enjoy watching it, but that's because, I'm a comics nerd, so I still get a thrill out of, like, Scarlet Witch is here. Like,
yeah, I think my issue with Age of Ultron is it shows why I think Joss Whedon is overrated as a director to a degree. Not so much as
it definitely feels like he may have a style, but like when you have the same jokes and the same set pieces, it literally feels like here's another Avengers.
I think he's good to rewrite movies and fix scripts that have issues or are lacking, and he definitely did that for a lot of those Phase 1 movies, and you can tell. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to Avengers 2 or Age of Ultron, it's a lot of the same jokes. Ultron starts off really intimidating and looks cool, and they have the perfect voice for Ultron too. But then at the end of the movie, he's just mad because he doesn't have the internet anymore. And
then the Vision cuts him out of the internet by holding his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of falls apart.
And it has the studio mandated Thor has to go take a bath in the well sequence to understand what Infinity Stones are.
But even then, the movie doesn't explain what Vision is or who Vision is. They just go like,
he is.
All right, let's go to the fight. And like, I'm fine with it. But...
He's poorly explained. He can wield Thor's hammer. It's got cool stuff, and I would gladly rewatch it if it's on, because it's got moments that I like Scarlet Witch, like whispering the stuff into everyone's ears, and the Hulkbuster fight is really cool.
Yeah.
But it's clear to me that at that point, I'm like, no, moving away from Joss Whedon going forward was the right call, because you're going to have a very similar tone of jokes and looks throughout these movies if you keep him as your creative director.
All right, next one up, we've got Iron Man versus Captain America, the First Avenger.
Oh, fuck. That's a... I mean, you need Iron Man on one hand to get the MCU going, but on the other hand...
I'm leaning towards Iron Man just because even though Captain America had those moments that, like, I think are above and beyond some of the best scenes in the entire MCU, like Captain America jumping on the dummy grenade, just showing who these people are, nothing will beat how I felt in the theater watching Iron Man. And, like, they pulled that movie off so well that the fact that, like, one of my favorite scenes is just him testing a suit to see how high he can get before the altitude starts to affect his suit. Like, it's such a
I gotta say,
perfect movie if it wasn't for the third act, and Captain America has its own issues as well.
Okay,
but I think in terms of setting up who a character is, Iron Man does it pretty much perfectly.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm leaning. Is they both have a sloppy third act, and they have like little things that make them bad, like the montage sequence in Captain America, and some of the stuff, some of the like desert stuff takes a while to get out of for Iron Man, but you need that to build that character though. Yeah, I gotta go Iron Man. Iron Man, I think, is just too iconic for what it is, and it helps resurrect Robert Downey Jr.'s career at that point.
True. And for me, it was just the fact that, like, I remember even the trailer of him, the one shot where the tank fires the thing and he slowly, like, slightly dodges it and just fires back.
Yeah, that's
like
that's a good moment.
All the effects, like, that movie, I don't think you could replicate it in a sense of just the
it's a
sheer lightning in a bottle moment of the MCU.
I was gonna say it's a perfect storm movie, and it's got that scene. I remember that where he dodges the tank and then fires back on it. And the other part that I vividly remember is him breaking out of the not him breaking out of the, but the beginning of the movie where he displays the Jericho to everybody, and I'm like, that's Tony Stark. They nailed that.
I think the other thing is, like, leaving Captain America, even enjoying the character in the movie, didn't compare to leaving Iron Man on the "I am Iron Man" moment.
I didn't
and
love
like the sheer amount of hype that, like, of thinking you knew what was going to come next and there would be more Iron Mans and he's going to have to protect us, and then they instantly go like, nah, we're not going to do that here. We're just going to make movies.
Yeah, I will say I didn't love Iron Man until, or not Iron Man, Captain America until the second Captain America movie. That's what
fair.
That's what really, like, I
clicked it into place.
As a comic reader, Captain America was never my favorite character to read. I found him to be not boring per se, but nothing special up until I think his Avengers Disassembled stuff. None of his solo runs I ever enjoy. Maybe his more recent stuff is good, but a lot of his like early 2000s and late 90s solo runs are not a fun read.
I had read the not Remender. Oh boy, Brubaker, Winter Soldier stuff and everything. So because of the movie, I caught up on the character more because, like you said, like I didn't read old Avengers books.
Yeah.
And his solo book wasn't really the premier Marvel book. Like, none of these characters are the premier characters. It was all Spider-Man and the X-Men, and then everything had to change. So.
If your name wasn't Spider-Man or Wolverine, nobody cared.
Yeah. Well, moving into the next, we're on the opposite side of the bracket now. Another seed in Avengers Infinity War against Iron Man 3.
Infinity War. Iron Man 3 is too messy of a plot, even though Fing Fang Foom is technically Guy Pearce. Yeah.
It's a fun Shane Black movie.
Yeah.
But as an MCU movie, it's kind of almost like the Pirates 4 thing of just kind of a blip over on the side that doesn't... It builds into who Tony becomes in a sense, his personal growth.
His PTSD is there. He doesn't want to be in the suit. Extremis is kind of cool. But it just is there. I hate Super Pepper. Super Pepper ruins the end of that movie for me so much.
I don't hate it as much as a lot of people do, but also, that whole movie is not the explosion beat 'em up like action fest that a normal movie would be, so it didn't feel as much as a subversion to me as much as like they had set up that she had already, you know what I mean? It didn't feel, it felt more natural to me. But also, I don't love it. Like, I don't love Iron Man 3 like I do Infinity War. So.
Infinity War is the start of things that shouldn't work. Or not the start, but the beginning of these two movies shouldn't work together, but they make it work anyways. Of how to bring a giant plot together. So, Infinity War, for sure.
All right, next seed, Captain America Winter Soldier versus Doctor Strange.
I'm gonna pick Winter Soldier.
Yeah, kind of have to.
Yeah,
because it reminds me of it's the honest trailer for Winter Soldier, where it's like it wasn't your favorite Phase 1 movie. He wasn't even your favorite Avenger, but this movie's amazing.
Yeah, it's everything about.
As much as I do love Doctor Strange and the visual effects, I just think the kind of Cold War spy thriller tone of the movie and what the Russos brought to every character in that movie, I think is above and beyond better than Doctor Strange.
They brought in the Falcon. They made the Falcon work. They made me actually enjoy the Black Widow character more than I thought I would. Samuel L. Jackson's cool. Robert Redford's awesome.
Yeah.
Kobe Smulders gets some stuff in. The elevator scene is still one of the best scenes, I think,
Yeah.
in terms of just the
Yeah.
intensity of it. And he drops a building on that poor man. And then just putting on the old costume, like it's got
literally, especially because this was during the like Phase 1, Phase 2, Batman v Superman, like collateral damage fights, and the fact that, well, both of these movies, the third act ends with the person not fighting back.
Yep.
Just sitting there and accepting the punishment. I thought was a really interesting contrast.
Yeah,
to
it's
snapping Zod's neck and screaming.
God, snapping. Oh,
yeah, it's a whole other thing.
Those are conversations for another podcast.
Yeah, that's separate.
But yeah, Winter
right.
Soldier for sure.
Winter Soldier. Next up, we've got Avengers Original versus Black Panther.
Avengers.
No, it's definitely Avengers. For the circle shot alone, it's got to be Avengers.
Yeah,
Black Panther is really, really good, but the sheer, like, I remember seeing the first Avengers and, like, holding my breath in anticipation of, like, okay, they haven't fucked it up yet. Oh my god, are they going to do it? Is this movie going to be good? And then by the time you hit the third act, 15 minutes of action, it's just like, oh, this was better than I could have ever hoped, better than any of the other Phase 1 movies leading up to it, so you had no expectation of it being that good.
I'll have to see if I have my like paperwork for it, but I did the extra sequence for where Loki goes to the ballroom dance and stabs the dude in the fucking eye. I am in that for like 2 seconds of a frame. I have my like pay stub thing of like, here you go, you worked for a couple days, here's a couple $100, be on your way, scamp. But yeah, that's a movie that I wasn't a manager yet, and I had never really begged Sean or anyone to stay late and show a movie or let me go to see a screening of something, because originally the word is none of the floor staff was allowed to go see the Avengers.
Yeah, usually Disney's very serious about that, so I could see going like, no, you're not.
And this was on film still.
This was the start. Yeah, this is the this is the start of Disney films being the, can we please be here as soon as it unlocks.
So it was on film, and Sean, I think, because
someone had to run that.
So they were going to test it. I was allowed to watch it, and the one uniqueness to it was Sean got an email with the print films came in a big container, and there was a lock on them that you had to like open with like a code they gave you. And Sean's like, I got the code. Everyone get here quick.
Just figured it out from brute force.
So we came in and watched it, and then I think I brought you to see it that weekend. And I saw that movie in theaters as many times as I did Scott Pilgrim, I think. And I saw Scott Pilgrim in theaters like 4 or 5 times.
Sorry, I couldn't tell you. It sounds like there's a loud argument happening outside, so I keep getting distracted. But no, Avengers, I that's probably the movie I've seen the most in theaters.
It's of the MCU movies, it is probably number 1 still. Civil War is probably number 2, and then Winter Soldier. I've seen them a lot in theaters.
All right, so next one, final one of the seeds to get entered, Thor Ragnarok versus Spider-Man Homecoming.
I'm gonna pick Thor. I'm in the different camp, I feel like.
I was saltier about Thor Ragnarok when it first came out. I've mellowed on it now. It's still the best Thor movie, obviously. I just feel like a lot of its emotional beats are undercut by jokes almost instantly, so it was hard for me to really get invested in that aspect of the world building, especially since it slices right into Avengers afterwards. So
yeah. So Thor Ragnarok, the flaws are there. Every emotional moment is like you said, undercut by a joke. But it is the best Thor movie, and I do appreciate the Hulk in it a lot. And it's visually appealing, but
Yeah, I mean, I remember when it first came out, part of the problem was, like, I remember the trailers literally ended on, like, a slow-mo freeze frame shot pitching, like, he's gonna fight Surtur, and then in the actual fight, he jumps up, and they go, like, Hulk, no, and he goes, like, okay. And it's like, well, getting further away from trailer lies and things that make you upset, the movie in itself is good. It was just a lot of things a lot of things colliding for me going, like, well, the movie should have just been Jeff Goldblum Planet.
Yeah,
or
it's
Kate Blanchett, not all of these things.
It's
Whereas I thought Spider-Man: Homecoming is, like a almost perfect distillation of who that character is. But I won't argue it because I don't have the energy personally. And Thor Ragnarok is also still very good. So
I mean,
either way,
Spider-Man probably is the one that
Michael
needs to
Keaton.
go. Yeah, I was gonna say Spider-Man's the one that probably needs to go through, but my pick would be for Thor because that is one of my preferred MCU characters. The only thing though is I keep going back to the stupid green screen sequence of Loki, Odin, and Thor by the ocean.
Thor is when I started to realize that even though they are these giant productions, they're still low budget sometimes. Like Thor and Black Panther and Captain Marvel, where you're like, this CG is not very good.
It's like
this doesn't seem done yet.
They're like, guys, the CG house is strapped. Stop giving us shit to do, please. So Spider-Man goes through.
We're making the Avengers movies. We can't do this right now.
Yeah, Spider-Man goes through only because Michael Keaton's really good. Tom Holland continues to nail the role, and it's a movie about Green Goblin in it, and it's a totally different villain. So, like,
and it totally sells. The only issue I have with the new Spider-Man stuff is that they don't talk about Uncle Ben at all. But I get it, and
it's
different than the other stuff, and blah blah blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
But that's the only nitpick I have. Whereas is Thor still a really good movie? Like I'd watch it right now. It's still a great movie. I just was sad going like, oh, so there goes my World War Hulk, Planet Hulk, anything.
Yep.
There goes Ragnarok. There goes all these different avenues that I thought could be cool story threads.
Maybe one day we'll get Chris Hemsworth walking around with Tom Hiddleston's head, and Tom Hiddleston is just mocking him the whole time. One day.
That'd be fun. Like, and I still do really enjoy Ragnarok. I just think Spider-Man, especially after Amazing Spider-Man, and even the Raimi trilogy, like getting Spider-Man right is such a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
I think they nailed it.
Yeah, no, I agree. So Spider-Man goes through.
So, all right, final rounds leading into the finals then. So, semifinals. Got Avengers Endgame versus Captain America Civil War. This one's a bit of a toss-up because Endgame is the toughest. It's kind of like the Pirates thing that I was saying earlier where Endgame works because of every other movie. And so does Civil War to an extent, but you can kind of jump into Civil War, whereas if you jump into Endgame...
Fuck.
You cannot do it.
I'm thinking because...
Yeah.
Endgame, because like you said, it's... The ending works. Everything works about Endgame, and it shouldn't. It's a time travel movie that makes sense of the time travel it's doing. It doesn't make the plot any more messy or convoluted than it needs to be, and it has beautiful action moments. However, I fucking love Civil War, though, is the problem.
Yeah, that airport scene.
The airport scene's really good. I like all
and even just I love the scene where it's literally Tony offering Cap the like pens that were used to sign like the Treaty of I can't remember that part, but he's trying to extend an olive branch, and they're just having a conversation, and that's just as thrilling to me as the like all of the action that happens later on.
I also Zemo is not a great villain, but he's a great manipulator throughout that movie. And I'm picking Civil War. I genuinely like Civil War. I like Endgame. Endgame's great, but I'm going to go with Civil War.
I don't know. The only reason I'm leaning Endgame is as much as I love Baron Zemo from the comics, he doesn't really do much in Civil War. And I get that that's his prerogative.
Yeah, he's a manipulator. That's his character.
And as much as I love the airport sequence, nothing... Like, I don't remember seeing Civil War with you.
I don't think we saw that together.
But no, I know. But what I'm saying is I don't have parts in my brain that stick out as like I remember where I was when X happened.
Yeah.
But when Thor's hammer moves in Endgame, like I remember where we were, all of us exclaiming. Like the number of moments in Endgame that I won't forget. I feel like I have to give it to that just because even if you're taking is it a standalone movie out of it because neither of them are. all of the characters are serviced in Endgame, kind of similar to Civil War, but you're not setting up multiple characters for more movies. You're at the culmination of the setup.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, hey, I'm T'Challa. It's, hey, T'Challa's back. It's literally the antithesis of when Hawkeye says, hey, I'm Clint, and Black Panther says, I don't care. And then in Endgame, he goes, Clint, give me the gauntlet. I'm going to run the thing. And for a second, you go like, oh, he learned his name. Like, there we go.
Yeah.
So I just feel the difference there. Spider-Man is great, but I feel like Endgame. I don't know. This is a tough one for me.
I guess for me with Civil War, it introduces the bond and relationship of Scarlet Witch and the Vision. That makes that very clear.
Yeah. Making pop Prakash.
Black Panther is introduced. That is handled pretty well. You establish.
You know what? I'm gonna give it to Civil War as well, just for the stairwell fight with all the dudes jumping out. And then fighting Black Panther, and then going down and having a foot chase that's faster than cars.
I was gonna lead into all of them. Like, there's also very good action. Like Civil War, like I like both, but Civil War, I think, is the stepping stone of what Endgame gets to. You need Civil War to get to Endgame.
I also feel like a lot of these are anyone's rankings. Endgame is number one, so it's interesting for us to just go like,
Endgame's out. Let's go.
Yeah. All right, so we've got Guardians of the Galaxy versus Iron Man.
Fuck. Guardians. I'm picking Guardians.
Yeah, that's fair. Me too. Because that's the one that I remember even leading into it. I was like, how are they going to pull this off? And then leaving, I was like, oh, I completely love that movie. I'm completely in.
I remember...
Especially the perfect storm of Chris Pratt, Parks and Rec during that time. Before everyone decided to talk on Twitter and make everything
ruined. One of the things one of the things I remember is I have a lot of moments of these movies because I worked for almost all of them except for like a lot of the final phase 3 stuff, which is fine. I remember I was doing trailers upstairs and I grabbed my walkie-talkie. I'm like, hey Sean, I need you to go to Theater 7 really quick. We're gonna play the Guardians trailer because we got it before YouTube. Let's go. Because it hadn't dropped yet on YouTube. We just got in the trailer. I'm like, let's watch this now.
That would happen a lot, yeah.
So I remember watching that Guardians trailer, and I'm just like, oh shit, this movie looks decent. Let's go.
Yeah, and I do love the first Iron Man, like I said before, but Guardians has that outsider appeal of like, even if you don't like superhero movies, quote unquote, you could watch that movie just because it's so out there.
It's a fun sci-fi movie. It's all Marvel movies suffer from the third act syndrome of not knowing how to like finish, but except for like Endgame and Infinity War, but it's good. I like Guardians for sure over Iron Man.
All right, final other side of the bracket, we've got Avengers Infinity War versus Captain America Winter Soldier. I'll say I'm leaning towards Winter Soldier just because of the self-containedness of it and how it's focused on Captain America's story, whereas Infinity War, I feel like out of all of them, even Endgame has more character moments, whereas Infinity War, I feel like it's a lot of like, all right, Shuri's here, and Bucky has one line, and all right, Cap came in over here. It feels like a lot of shuffling players around to get to the snap.
I will say the parts... If Infinity War didn't have the forging of Stormbreaker in it, I would like it more.
I really don't like half Hulk not coming out, Hulkbuster stuff.
Yeah, that part's awkward. I do enjoy though all the characters like Tony Stark interacting with the Guardians and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's the tough part there. Is
we're using our fake names. I'm
Spider-Man.
Like stuff like that stands out, but
Give me one better. Why is Gamora? So that's the problem. Is all of those moments are really good, but even Infinity War, if you watch it like now on Disney Plus, it makes you go like, well, now I need to watch Endgame. Like it doesn't feel like
if I were to go watch Infinity War right now, I would have to watch Endgame, whereas I can watch Winter Soldier and walk away.
Yeah, because even in Endgame, I really like how Captain America is like, we have to do this because if it doesn't work, I don't know what we'll do. But in Infinity War, it definitely feels much more like, hey, we got to get to the fight.
Yeah,
and that's all. There's not a lot of character-specific stuff that isn't Tony and Peter and Doctor Strange. All the other characters, I feel like, kind of got back seats.
Yeah,
so that's why I would go towards Winter Soldier just for
even
Just
Captain
for the
America,
opening, did he wear a parachute? No, he didn't. And
No.
then just beating the crap out of everybody on the entire
because
show.
even Captain America isn't as featured. He's in Infinity War, but not a lot. It's a lot of Tony setting up stuff.
exactly.
So, yeah, I'll give it to Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier is definitely
That's an upset, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of people love Infinity War, but I think Endgame, Winter Soldier is a much more enjoyable vehicle. And if I wanted to show someone a Captain America movie to get them to understand the character of Captain America, I could show them Winter Soldier.
Yeah. All right, so the final one of the semifinals of the pre-semifinal. Look, I don't do sports.
We're in the quarterfinals.
Look,
then we'll be in the semifinals,
whatever.
and then we'll be in the finals.
Look, Avengers versus Spider-Man: Homecoming.
First Avengers. First Avengers. I
kind of gotta have to give it to the first Avengers.
I've seen 5 Spider-Man movies up until this one, and it crushed it.
That was
but
the only Avengers I'd ever seen.
Yeah, that's the only Avengers I've ever seen.
Okay, so now we're in the semifinals.
Yes, this will determine who is going to go into the final bracket.
All right, this is I think going to be one of the tougher ones. Captain America: Civil War versus Guardians of the Galaxy.
I am still going to stick with Captain America. Guardians.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
but I think Guardians could easily take it in this fight. I just personally love all of the Earthbound heroes, and as much as I love the weird cosmic stuff, it did bum me out in terms of building towards phases that nothing in Guardians, besides the Thanos threat, got established, but nothing felt like it affected any of the other characters in the entire MCU. It always felt very out there until Captain Marvel.
I need to see how. Oh god, I'm yawning.
Guardians 3 goes.
Yeah, did you see how Guardians 3 plays out with Adam I assume Adam Warlock is still happening. Because James Gunn is directing and writing. They brought him back, right?
Yep. Yeah, we just gotta Suicide Squad has to come out first.
Yeah. So I am curious to see how that all plays, because there's the unfinished stuff with Gamora from Endgame. So there's a lot of stuff I think with Guardians 3 that'll determine if Guardians 1 has ramifications throughout its like storytelling.
That's true.
But
all right, then.
So is Winter Soldier over Guardians?
Or Civil War over Guardians?
Or sorry, Civil War over Guardians. Yeah, Civil War. I can argue for days over Guardians.
All right, and then the other side of the semifinals, it's Winter Soldier versus the first Avengers.
Shit. It's funny because I love Avengers, but we're getting to the nitpicking side of things. I can easily point the flaws out in Avengers now.
But I think the heights of Avengers are higher than the heights of... I think Winter Soldier is a better movie about a character.
Yes.
But, when the helicarriers are coming down and they're all shooting each other because of Project Insight, that's not really the part of the movie that you remember.
No.
Whereas even the slow parts of Avengers, where they're building the team, that part's cool. Then all the characters interact for the first time, and that's cool. Then Thor comes in.
Yeah,
by the time you build to the third act, especially for how by the time you're at the whole camera sweeping through everybody and everyone's doing their moves, and then you keep cutting to different people.
I'll let it go, only because I have a Russo brothers movie going to the final already.
Yeah.
So
Captain America: Winter Soldier is obviously also really good. I just think the original Avengers, that circle shot.
It's a moment. It's an iconic moment.
That's unprecedented, and to pull it off. Whereas Winter Soldier is a really really good.
Yeah. No, I can concede Winter Soldier. I do like Winter Soldier a lot, and I think I personally think I enjoy it more than Avengers. Not to say Avengers is bad, because Avengers is iconic, right. But for me, I definitely like Winter Soldier a bit more. But that's neither here nor there. So I can let the first Avengers go through.
Well, actually, my dad is in Winter Soldier, so. No, I'm still gonna have to go for the first Avengers, just because that's the only time in the entire MCU, besides one scene in Ultron, that you actually get real Hulk.
Yeah.
Everything else after that, well, Thor Ragnarok, he's still Hulk, so whatever. It has the best Hulk moments, and that was the character I was most nervous about going in, since his movie was people didn't really know it was part of it. They didn't see it. And then also they recast the actor. How's that going to go? And then I think it's the best Hulk we've ever seen, ever will see.
Mark Ruffalo, I think,
depending on
is
how
really, really good casting choice for that role, to move from Ed Norton to Mark Ruffalo. Because I think the moment that stands out for me is when he's on the helicarrier in Avengers and he's like twitching and just like nervous and awkward to be on there.
Well, I just love he's like, this is going to go underwater. And they're like, oh, no. And then the fans come out and they start to take off. And he goes, oh, no, this is much worse.
Yeah.
Like, it's yeah. So, and then, so leading into the finals, then, it's Civil War versus Avengers.
I'm picking Civil War. Avengers is iconic in a time and a place, but I think Civil War is just as iconic in terms of what it does and what it shows off. I think Civil War is supposed to be a Captain America movie, but it's really an Avengers movie when you think about it.
Yeah, if you take it as Avengers 2.5, I'm totally fine with it winning. It's just so weird that they went like... Because it is, it's centered on Steve's story, but it is...
Everyone's involved.
The effects on everyone, yeah.
Yes, and it displays the ramifications, and it has ramifications. It carries weight, and that weight is felt even in Infinity War when Tony's, like, debating calling Captain America and everything.
He's still pissed about it.
Yeah.
I think the other reason it works for me is it feels the most like a comic, because even if you have seen every movie, you don't know Black Panther or Spider-Man going into that movie. So you meet new characters that you weren't even expecting to meet and get to know them and like them and want to know more about their stories leading out. And they don't infringe, like, none of the Wakanda stuff really even feels like it's trying to set up Black Panther as much as it is
like, its own organic thing.
They happen to be here when he bombed the UN and he's blaming Bucky, and then all of this happens.
Yeah, it works and it makes sense. Because like Avengers, I love the first Avengers movie. That movie has a lot of cool moments for me, but as a moviegoer and someone who that movie came out in what, 2012?
Yeah.
I was 22. I was really just kind of growing my love for film and what I like about movies, and I thought it was one of the better things I'd ever seen, and then I expanded my horizon tremendously. And
that's the tough part of Avengers is, like, from the filmmaking standpoint, it's definitely a Joss Whedon movie where it looks a little like TV, and it doesn't necessarily... It definitely feels like they shot it on the helicarrier for 90% of the movie, because you only have so much time to destroy East 9th downtown.
And and Avengers is a prove-yourself movie. It is the prove that what you've been doing, Marvel Studios, is going to pay off and is going to work. But I think Civil War is the culmination of everything before it, proving that we've got the formula, we have the right guys at the helm, we know what we're doing. I'm
totally fine with Civil War taking him.
Because I genuinely I want to know how they decided to move away from Whedon, and I assume it had to have been the filming of Ultron that did it. And then the decision...
when he was doing the press tour, essentially saying, I don't want to do this anymore. They kind of saw the writing on the wall.
I don't remember the press tour with him, because they gave him...
They literally said, it was like Daniel Craig, where they said, like, hey, would you do another one right now? And he's like, no, I'm too exhausted. Like, literally, when this is done, I'm just going to go to sleep and not do anything for a while.
Because they gave him a lot of control. He had a lot of... I don't want to say power, but he had a lot of sway and doing
that was
things.
Also the Perlmutter era, though, so there was a lot of, like you said, hey, why isn't there a scene with Thor seeing Thanos?
Yeah.
Like, well, how do we do that? And they're like, well, do it.
So, and I think getting rid of him and having Feige finally in full control has made it a much better place. And I have to assume that the success of Winter Soldier and how well it did sold them on the Russo brothers. Because it's 100%. It's the right mix of comedy, it's the right mix of action, it's got thriller moments, dramatic moments, so it definitely, and you see all of that in the Civil War and then Endgame and Infinity Wars. You see all those touches from Winter Soldier replicated throughout those next 3 movies.
Yeah, I really do feel like that's the tough part, is like ranking them against each other like this. It makes sense how we can get to Civil War, but if you had to pick like one Marvel movie to show somebody, I don't know if Civil War could be the one.
if you're telling me
you have to just hit the ground running. If you have a concept of who the Avengers are, you might be fine. But if you don't know who Scarlet Witch is, the movie's not going to tell you.
If I have to show an one of these movies to somebody to get them on board to watching the MCU with me, I think with Emily, I think she just straight up watched Infinity War and then was like, all right, I'm in, let's go.
Let's work backwards.
Yeah, I'd probably either show them Winter Soldier or the first Iron Man movie, and then outside of those two, maybe Black Panther.
I think the first Avengers movie you could just show them, because honestly,
you can explain those characters.
We're at now with brands, like, even if you don't watch these movies, you've seen Thor you've seen the trailers, you've seen something, so you know who these people are. And if you just jump into Iron Man 1, besides going, why does this guy love AC/DC so much? There's not a lot that you wouldn't already know.
He does love AC/DC. Jesus.
Yeah, he did up until like Civil War, when he never listened to it ever again.
He's like, AC/DC is dead to me. They no longer exist. It's weird. I would like to see other brackets from fans, because I doubt Civil War is number one.
No, the one that I had pulled from theirs ended with Endgame versus Infinity War, which is, I think, a lot of people's top two.
Yeah.
So I'm happy we avoided that trope and had a different conversation, so that's interesting.
I think it's because I think
it's quantity over quality in a sense, because it's the most Marvel movie.
Yeah, it is the most Marvel movie, but I think Civil War is the best most Marvel movie, and it gives you just the right amount of everything. So
I agree. I'll probably watch it tonight.
I'm probably gonna go watch the first Avengers movie tonight, actually, because it's been a while since I've seen it. So
I'm thinking of starting a full MCU rewatch, and when I say full, I don't mean it, but like Iron Man 1 and cherry picking through the rest of them. So
yeah, no, for sure. So as we get ready to wrap up here, you're in charge of our topic for next week. What are we thinking? Where are we going?
I wanted to talk about the horror movies and books that established what we like in the genre now.
Okay.
So just in general, horror movies, horror stories, horror games, if that's what it is.
Okay. I'm going to...
So you could just pick a couple of movies that like you want to talk about that if you want to break one down, we could.
No,
but I think just a general talk about, there's, I'm sure we each have 30 movies we would pull.
I think we can bring 5 to the table. I already have one in my mind, so that works out. And then
I've got my Blu-rays up there, and I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. We can bring 5. We can bring 5.
Top 5 horror movies.
Top 5 horror movies. We'll make it a list, and then we can talk about the genre and how it's both good and bad at the same time right now. So, no, that'll work out. Let me check really quick if there's anyone on that we can raid. Yeah, I'm going to send you guys to my friend Kayla. She's a really nice person. She is just chatting. If I had to guess, she's reading Tinder profiles on right now, and that's a pretty good time. Her name's Kayla Marie T, because this will be going on my YouTube, so that way if you guys want to look her up, that's how you can find her. But yeah, we're going to go raid Kayla. Give me a second to set this up. And then, yeah, we'll be back next Monday. Script Doctors might be the name still. I don't know if that's sticking. We'll see.
Who knows? I mean, I'm sure it's taken, but
yeah,
whatever. We'll figure it out. Eventually, something will be free.
We'll make it work. I will be back on Thursday or Friday. I don't know when. But I'll be back, and then Dan will be back on Monday, and then go to my YouTube page to see our Let's Play, which I'll have loaded later. But I'm Inspector Wells. Dan, do you have any final words?
No, just, wear a mask, wash your hands, be safe out there.
All right. Bye, guys.